All right. What's up, everybody? Episode 31 of Into the Minefield. The hiatus is over. It's been a minute. You know, sometimes we take a little hiatus. It's called we take a little hiatus. But I've not been on a hiatus from streaming. Was on with BLA doing True Detective, Night Country, episodes 1 through 4 analysis. About a week and a half ago, and we'll be doing the follow-up. We thought there was going to be 8 episodes this season. There's only 6, so we'll be doing the last 2 sometime, probably Sunday. So stay tuned for that. I don't know whose channel we're doing that on. We're going to figure that out. And then I was on his 3K party along with Jerry, who's joining us once again. It's been way too long since he's been on the show, so we are thrilled to get him back on here. What's going on?
Shit, man, nothing. Thank you so much for having me on. Definitely was an unexpected, pleasant surprise today. I saw y'all were going live. I'm planning on doing a show later, and when I saw y'all were live, I'm like, well, I got to watch that, so I got to do the show afterwards. And then when you invited me on, I was definitely very happy to join. It's been, like you said, way too long, so I'm glad to be back. Finally back on the Digital Minefield stream, dude. Waiting for our homie Henley to roll on in. And yeah, we're just going to do a little chill stream today. Super excited, man. So thank you so much.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, always a blast having you on. Yeah, BLA will be along shortly. He is here. Our resident Don DeLeo expert is in the house. He is, looks like he's setting up, so we'll give him a moment. He's ready. All right.
That's
Resident
right.
Don DeLeo expert in the house. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm coming in hot there for my homeboys. Am I too loud?
No, you're good.
You're good.
You're good.
Sorry, you guys.
We got to keep that hype going, dude. I don't know if you heard
That's right.
Maddie's intro song, but it was hyped as fuck. So
what was the intro song? Sorry, guys. I just jumped out the shower. What was the intro song?
I asked him, I said, are you still doing cold opens or are you doing intro songs now? He's like, well, I got this one intro song, but I don't want the ad to pop up halfway through. So I pulled it up on my end. It was actually really good, dude. I was jamming out, man. I don't know what it was called. What was it called, Manny?
I don't know what the actual name is. It's called the Natty Anthem because Rich Piana, who's like a legendary. Are y'all familiar with Rich Piana?
No, but that sounds perfect for your show. It's the Maddie Anthem, dude.
There you go. Okay, yeah, it's been rebranded. Now, Rich Piana
you were going to say it was Minor Threat or old school Black Flag from earlier today.
I wish.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's good, dude.
Rich Piana was the guy who basically pioneered like the YouTube bodybuilding, like fitness vlogging. He was just like he was like a competitive bodybuilder for a while, and then just ended up going into business and just kind of he was like one of the sort of original kind of bodybuilding influencers. Like he started a company and did no marketing. He would just post these like hour-long video vlogs every day about like lifting and eating Ben and Jerry's and like pizza. And the dude was like running, I don't know, like tons of steroids. He died when he was like 44. It was really sad, but
that was going to be the ending.
Yeah.
That was a song he used. It was just one of those like YouTube videos, so he'd like put it over lifting montages, and it was a joke that he was like natural, not on steroids. And so anyway, it became known as the Natty Anthem.
Full Natty.
Yeah.
Then his legacy got picked up by DPH and Father Moses, right?
Yeah.
Father Moses said he said he helps people with moving. He has a moving truck, and it's like, bro, you are a moving truck. That guy's jacked. That guy's a big rig, 18-wheeler. Double clutching it down the highway.
I had no idea who he was until like a week ago.
Do you guys remember when Joe Biden said that he was, amongst other things, he was a truck driver, and he was double clutching it down the highways of Delaware? He said that one time. He literally said that. I was like, hell yeah, dude, talking about riding with Biden.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I still think that the best contribution Joe Biden's made to the world is the term transgender. I still use that today. These transgesters.
Well, Nick Mullen the other day said that he's going to be his new speechwriter.
That would be great.
Listen, remember the 1970s? You could get hit by a car and just get right back up and keep walking. That's how I thought he would say.
back in the good old days where you could still drink and drive, nobody gave you trouble.
Right. Damn, am I like fuzzy here? Am I coming in hot?
No,
I'm like
you
real
look
hot
good.
on this mic.
No,
Okay.
You look good,
it's
The
sound
mic
good,
is like, all right.
look good,
Um,
sound good, feel good. It's all
yeah,
good.
Maddie, I was really proud of that little ad lib that I did earlier when we were texting that Henry Rollins bit. I thought that was a pretty faithful
Oh
bit.
yeah,
Yeah,
Fill me
'cause
in,
we
I
were
missed
riffing.
that.
was great.
Well,
Do
we
you
were
want to
riffing
read
on.
it? I don't know if you want to read it, but that was so. BLA and I were joking about. We were talking about Henry Rollins earlier.
Hmm.
Some of y'all may be familiar. He was one of. I'm a Black Flag fan. I'm a Ron
Yeah, Black
Reyes
Flag was
guy.
good.
I'm a Keith Morris guy. I mean,
Henry Rollins is such an arrogant prick, but Black Flag was good. You know what I mean?
yeah, he was good with Black Flag. I like what he did with Black Flag, but he's just, and he's, I was saying though, some of the movies he does, like he was good in Sons of Anarchy when it's kind of, playing sort of a dumb, tough guy. Like he does a good job with
Wasn't he
that.
in Lost Highway?
He got his ass kicked in
Yes.
Heat. Remember De Niro hit him with the mag light?
He was
Oh,
in.
yeah, I forgot he was
No,
in.
who was it
Yeah,
who threw him
yeah.
through the wind? Somebody threw him through a plate glass window. Who was that? Was that Al? I think Al Pacino did that.
I'm pretty
Eddie
sure
was
it was
in that
him.
movie, The Chase, with Charles Sheen and Christy Swanson. That's a
I never
great
saw
movie,
that
dude.
one.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
played
classic '90s.
the prison guard in Lost Highway when Bill Pullman gets thrown in jail or whatever. He's in the
That's
guard.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Zip, yep, zip, yep, 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 yep. Dude, that movie. Well, we've already covered it, I guess, but that movie.
Y'all covered Lost Highway?
Well, we did. Did you and I talk about it, Matty, or was that maybe that was me
No, I
and
haven't done that
Jethro?
one.
We did that fire. Yeah, we did the firewalk with me, and we just like briefly mentioned Lost Highway. That movie. My friend Paul gave it to me, and he was like, "Watch this. I got a VHS copy. Make sure it's late at night and you're alone when you watch it." And I was like, "Dude, bad idea, right?" Like the filming of the people asleep and like the like extra long opening sequence and the backmasking and I mean, I was like, what, maybe 17 or 18.
Yeah.
It was not good.
When I was in high school, that was my favorite Lynch movie. That and Blue Velvet were up there as far as I was concerned, man. I mean, you could go deep on that one.
Yeah. Every time I think of Blue Velvet, though, I think of Waterworld.
Yes.
Because it's like kind of the same character. But I didn't know I was going to be in a movie with a bunch of piss drinking freaks.
Heineken horse piss.
And they got me here on the Valdez. I don't know the difference between real life and the movies, man.
Yeah, David Lynch said that he when Hopper came in for the what do they call that? The
Screen test.
yeah, well, no, it was when he was basically for the audition. He said he came in, he didn't do very good, and he had a reputation at that point for being hard to work with and stuff. So he wasn't sure, he was going to pick him, and he was walking out to the parking lot with him, and Dennis pulls him aside and goes, "I am Frank. I need this role. I am Frank." And he's like,
Damn.
he's like,
Damn.
"What?
That's nuts.
Scary.
That's not something to brag about, bro."
That's terrifying.
I remember one of the funniest Dennis Hopper moments. It was in an interview on one of those like late night shows. I don't know if it was Leno or just whoever it was, one of the hosts, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I was drinking like a fifth of rum and a quarter of rum and like a 24 pack of beer, and then doing cocaine to level out." And he was like, "I thought I was doing okay. Like I was still working. I was still upright." It's like, jeez, dude.
Yeah, I think that was probably Dick Cavett because that's when he talked about the story about Brando when he met Brando on the set of Apocalypse
Yes,
Now. And
I
he was
think
like,
that's right.
he was like, Brando did not like me at all. And Brando got on the set and was like, who's this little impish man who's on methamphetamine or acid or whatever? And Dennis Hopper was like, "Yep, I was on all those, man."
That's me. Dude, speaking of Dick Cavett, I got a box set of Dick Cavett's like greatest Hollywood appearances. It's got Brando, it's got Hitchcock, it's got all of them, dude. It's got all these great interviews that he did. Orson Welles Welles is on there talking. Orson Welles is on there talking about how he had dinner with Adolf Hitler.
Hitler, yep.
Did he really?
Yes,
Yeah,
when he
it's
was
a
a
great
kid.
story.
His parents used to send him off to Europe for summers, and he was at this big dinner, and he's like, he's like, at the time, nobody even paid any attention to him. He was just some political, it was before he came to power, and he was just the leader of the party or whatever. And he's like this quiet, like basically called him like a quiet nerd that nobody paid attention to. He's like, I found out later that was Hitler.
Oh
He's like,
my God.
well, he was a small man in lederhosen, inappropriate for the time. I, of course, was personal friends with Winston Churchill, even though I was 8.
Right?
Those are pretty good Orson Welles.
Mrs. William Snowpeas. That ad that he did.
It's a meme at this point, but you guys have seen the TV ad he did towards the end of his life, where he's selling the wine or beer or whatever. He's just
There's
drunk
the
off his
champagne.
Yeah,
Champagne. That, and there's a
So
different one
good.
with like the snow peas. He's selling snow peas, and he's like,
I
"I've
haven't seen
never worked like this before. You are absolutely stupid. I'm wasting my time. What does this mean, snow peas? Snow peas don't grow in South Dakota. We need to rewrite this. It rewrites the whole ad in the middle of it.
Dude, the Orson Welles thing that I've never seen that is like, they still haven't released it on DVD. He had these like home movies where it was him, and I want to say it was Jack Nicholson. It might have been Dennis Hopper, but I think it was Jack Nicholson, and he's just like ripping into him the whole time. And they released it in like a few select theaters, and it's like this cut of him just like going hard at this guy. And they showed it in a few theaters and never released it on DVD. And they're saying they might not release it for a long time. So I hope they do.
Did
though.
you
I want to see that?
Did you see? Because he made that documentary from his home, his own filming, and then they made a documentary of the documentary on Netflix.
With John
What was that?
Huston? What's his name?
Yeah,
John
that one's
Huston?
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good.
Yeah, that one's pretty wild.
Yeah, a little blast.
You know
from
what?
the
You know what
past.
his final role was? His final film role?
Was it Muppets?
No, it was close. Yeah, it was. I think it's the planet Omicron in Transformers, the animated movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's his final role.
That is
Bring
so
me
Whose
the
final role
inner
was
John Cube.
Was that John Huston's final role?
No, Orson Welles.
Oh, it was
Yeah,
Orson
John
Welles' final
Huston.
role. Okay.
John Huston was a director. He's the one that did Maltese Falcon and
Yeah.
African Queen and all those like classic film noirs.
Did he not do any acting? I thought he did some
He did
acting.
like a few roles. I don't think he did a bunch, but I know his daughter Angelica Houston was an actress.
Yeah, he's in Chinatown.
Chinatown. Yep.
She's
he's
a
got
great
that
actress. I think Angelica
Pivotal role.
Houston.
His voice is the obvious like Daniel Day-Lewis just copied his voice for Daniel Plainview and There Will Be Blood. He's like, if I put my pipe there and I
That's
drink
true.
your milkshake there,
I never made that
drink
connection.
your milkshake. I drink it up. Yeah, this is John Huston.
Yeah. Yeah, that dude
Yeah,
was
Angelica
such
Houston.
a
Yeah.
such a badass type character, man. Every time you see him in like, behind the scenes stuff, he just seemed like such a character, such a storied old guy,
Mm-hmm.
So great.
Yeah, legendary Mason.
Oh, really? He was a Mason?
Oh, big time, yeah. Yeah, he directed The Man Who Would Be King, which is the like Masonic Rudyard Kipling.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I remember
Film with
I
Sean
remember
Connery.
the classic BLA Man Who Would Be King analysis. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good. I mean, it's a Masonic allegory, but it's interesting how relevant it is because it's Afghanistan. So
Mm-hmm.
the graveyard of empires. If you haven't heard that, everybody always says that. Like, did you know Afghanistan is called the graveyard of empires? It's like, yes. Fuck.
Speaking of Masons and stuff like that, I was just watching this clip from Joe Rogan's podcast today with Kid Rock. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, he had so one of the clips is called Kid Rock punched somebody at Bohemian Grove. It's Kid Rock talking about how 20 years ago he was at Bohemian Grove and he punched
No
a dude
way.
in the face. Yeah,
No way.
Who
yeah,
did
you
he
got to
punch?
see it.
Did he say?
Dude, yeah, so it actually rolls out kind of lame, like the story, and but it's one of those great times where people they give away more than they realize. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so he's talking about, the clip starts off and Joe's saying, "Oh, I went down so many rabbit holes of this thing and that thing," and he mentions Bohemian Grove, and Kid Rock just sort of sighs like, "Yeah, I was there once." And he's like, "What? You were there? You were there? What?" And he basically goes, "Yeah, I punched it." He goes, "I got kicked out. I punched the dude in the face, and they wouldn't let me go to the concert after, and all this stuff." And he said that he punched an infiltrator in the face. He said he was sitting around. He was sitting around at a campfire, and this guy just started going off with that stuff. That's what he said. This guy's just like going off with that stuff. So I assume he
Well,
means like
it definitely wasn't
conspiracy.
AJ. Yeah, definitely didn't punch AJ in the face.
No. So he basically he alludes. He doesn't specify, but it seems based on the context that he's talking about how there was a guy at the same campfire as him, and he started talking about conspiracy stuff or something like that, and he got into a little tussle with him, punched the dude in the face.
He was like, "Look, man, I got a Southern accent, even though I'm from Detroit. For some reason, I got a Southern accent." And I saw Scalia French kissing Dick Cheney.
Well, right. it gets kind of like that. Not really, but he does mention some names. He talked about. He's like, no. He said at the time he didn't know the guy was an infiltrator, and nobody else did either, and so he got in like trouble there, and he had to stay in his cabin by himself while everybody went to this concert that they were all holding there for one of the nights. And he's like, it felt like I was in the principal's office or something. I'm sitting there in detention. I wasn't allowed to go and hang out. But then he said he saw like all these people there, Paul Pelosi and his son. He said he's seen Paul Pelosi and his son, and this is the part I was mentioning about giving away more than he realized. It's like, he's like, yeah, I saw Paul Pelosi and his son, and they asked me to like come down to their campfire and bring my guitar. And he's like, and I just felt so dirty and used afterwards. Like, come on. And he goes on to say basically that it was implied that he had to be a team player. Like, you got to come do your dance and monkey routine and ingratiate yourself in this circle with Paul Pelosi and his son. And it sort of ends there. And it's like, you think about it like, so this thing is sort of like a filtration process where they're bringing people in, and then it's like, oh, hey, there's this celebrity guy. We could use you. Like, why don't you come down to our camp and we'll just sort of feel you out. See, if he goes there all wide-eyed and ambitious and like, oh, what do you need from me, sir? And then, okay,
they're like,
I guess you'll be our Taylor
kind of
Swift.
seem like everybody else has got music. We the Republicans are, we need some music. So you seem like our guy. And we're not alluding to anything, you don't have to read into this, but, we have the names and addresses of every single person you know. So you need to come and sing these campfire songs with us. And also you need to kiss Rumsfeld. You're going to kiss him ever so gently.
It is like a ring kissing thing. That's how it seemed like, like, they wanted to see what he's like. And he's like, but I'm not a team player. So I was like, not about that. You know what I mean? He says he was down by the owl statue at one point too. They're talking about that. And, yeah.
It's like the CEO of Enron is going to need you to come down to his cabin at 1 a.m. Don't ask why.
Yeah. We need you to make a song about the greatest corporation the world has ever known. Halliburton.
Yeah, Slow Boy. He actually, that was the other clip they did, was he's talking about Bud Light and stuff. And he's basically said that he was hanging out with Donald Trump and all these people. And they were at Dana White's, I think he called it the green room or something. And he's like, and Trump goes, you see that guy over there? That's the CEO of Anheuser-Busch. And he's like, let's go talk to him. And he goes, the guy was really cool, man. He was like, he went out hunting and all this stuff. He was like basically saying he was like this based guy, and that, their company just screwed up and like let the wrong
Hi, my name's John Bush.
So he basically said
Coors.
They gave him 2 pallets of Bud Light, so now he's just got a room in his house full of cases of Bud Light, and he gives it out to his guests when they show up. And like he's talking about how the CEO is actually like a really cool, like, one of us sort of. That's how he alluded to it. And
is this the same CEO that was in the CIA?
Probably. It doesn't seem like Kid Rock's a very smart dude. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like he's really aware of the situations he's in. But
that CIA guy's a younger guy. But I think they still have a big family. It's probably Dolph Coors or whoever. They gave me a lifetime supply of mesh wife beaters, 2 pallets of Bud Light, and all the heroin I could use. Right.
What's fun? One of the speaking of
Kid Rock,
drinking,
one
of the funny when he got in that big Waffle House fight, and I think if I remember correctly, it was like the judge asked him, I was like, "Why did you get in a fight at Waffle House like 4 a.m.?" He was like, "We were drinking." He was like, "Why else are you going to go to Waffle House at 4 o'clock in the morning?"
No, for real. Why would you go there at any time if you're not ready to fight?
Yeah, exactly. Like you got to be ready to throw down.
Yeah, I had a student who worked there with her mom, and she fought the chef. Like a 300-pound guy. She was like, "These hash browns are cold." And he was like, "Shut your ass up." And she fought him in the parking lot. It was a little girl. She's like, "That's what you got to do."
Dude, did you hear about the school that called the National Guard? Was it in Michigan did you hear about that?
Maryland?
Nuts, dude. Yeah. That's so nuts. This lady writes a letter to the National Guard, and it's like they're fornicating in the classroom. They're fighting. They're doing all this stuff. I'm afraid someone's gonna die. She's asking for the National Guard to roll in for the schools. Like that's So insane that the schools have
Yeah.
gotten that bad.
Well, I mean, if that were true, if it were that bad, then okay. I mean, there are probably some schools that could use that.
Yeah.
Most of the schools have, you know, armed. They have like they're not like rent-a-cops. They're cops.
Right.
Mhm.
But there are other schools that are calling the National Guard for what is it for the kid who it deals with the Skittles issue. There was a kid who said something in there. Oh no, it was, you know what it was? It was the thing in the Middle East. It was the big event going on in the Middle East. And he refused to say I stand with one of those places. And they said they charged him with a Kate Heim and had him arrested. This is like a 7th grader, had him arrested like on the premises.
That's insane, dude.
Yeah. I think that was in Maryland. Regardless, you know, wherever it was, it's the United States of America where we have a constitution that protects us.
Yeah.
I looked this one up.
So-
I thought it was Baltimore, but it was actually Brockton, which is outside of Boston, Massachusetts. And Brockton is like a notoriously rough city. And is this video going to autoplay? Don't do this to me. Yeah, so apparently this was members of the school committee in Brockton are asking for the National Guard to help curb violence at the high school. So they requested to bring in so the nonprofit formed after the event in Uvalde reached out to officials to propose another solution for the situation at Brockton, blah, blah, blah. Okay, maybe this is the actual article for what's going on at Brockton. There was a video showed students fighting on a stairwell in the school. Staff members said this is an increasing
It's a Tuesday. I mean,
yeah,
pretty
right.
much.
It's a normal Tuesday.
real.
It's an increasingly toxic environment. They said post COVID has been very difficult for a lot of members of this community. Oh, of course, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so apparently, yeah, like things have really gotten crazy. Oh, they're showing like a blurred video. This is like a full-on brawl.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really look that bad because these kids are just like swinging wildly. These are like pillow punches.
Okay, so look, I don't even need to see the video. I can already, see it IRL. But it's crazy that just for one thing, that the thing that happened in Texas and this are in the same sort of circle, right? Because they are related, but they're unrelated. And I can't really explain that other than say that you would never see the thing I was talking about in that kind of school, right? In a school where they got to bring in the National Guard because of the like everyday violence, they're not going to have a problem with they're not going to take somebody away for what he said. I mean, it's just not going to, that's the type of thing that happens in like Loudoun County with a bunch of like people who are guilty all the time. The places that have like real actual problems, where like you don't know whether people are going to make it the next day or not. They don't. I mean, the National Guard thing is interesting. It doesn't surprise me at all. And there's a precedent for that. Of course, it was in the 1960s when they were doing that. That's a whole different thing. But I think that as time goes on and people start to really get clued into like what's happening in education, is all I'll say, that if people saw that as a reality every day, like as adults, they probably would be like, oh yeah, we need this. Yeah. We got to have something else. But the problem is that, as usual, I mean, there's no money. There's no money to like pay anybody. There's no money for extra staff. There's no money for all the classes to be filled by teachers. They still have virtual classes because they can't get teachers to do it. Right. Everybody leaves everywhere. Virginia is having a big thing right now. They're voting on whether they want to make all the food, all the lunches free for the whole Commonwealth. And we have a free lunch program here. Because we have, it's appropriate here, but like in Loudoun County, do you need that? Like in the West End of Richmond, do you need free lunch programs? I mean, that's like ridiculous. Their schools are like Bayside High, Saved by the Bell. They're not like places where people need free lunch because that's their only meal for the day. So
why do you think they're trying to extend that even to wealthier neighborhoods?
I think because anything that gets a large amount of money moving in any direction, has stuff tied to it, is favorable for something. It's also politically, it looks good politically for whoever sponsored it. the governor is what's his name, Youngkin, Carlisle Group CEO. I mean, I'm sure he thinks it looks good for him, but it's just it's like pantomime, and it's essentially it's just unnecessary law and money for a bunch of places. There are places that need that, but those are locales, and the local places never get the money anyway. So if you have a statewide raise for teachers, for instance, if you say, okay, we're going to have every teacher in the state 5% raise, well, it's actually usually 3%, and then the locale has to match it with 2%. So a lot of places never get their raise because they can't match it. They just have no money.
Wow.
So that's why there was no raise from like 2008 to like 2018.
So what you may have insight on this. I was listening to something earlier today, and I can't remember which district they were talking about. There was some place where maybe it was New York City where it was costing, I think, to educate students. I don't remember the time frame, but it was like some crazy amount. It was like $1 million. I don't know if it was over 12 years or something. It's like some, because that's something is like people will sometimes say, if they're arguing against public education, like, well, we get taxed all this money. There's always putting money into the schools, but the schools just keep getting worse. So like, do you have any insight? Because that's something I've been curious about, is like, because a lot of money does go into the schools. It's one of the biggest, for local and state taxes. Like that's a huge place that the taxes go to, but it's like the school system just continues to decay.
Well, you look at like the board of education, stuff like that. I mean, that's just like pure corruption, just like in anything where there's government money funneling in, it's like you got that sort of parasite class, the bureaucracy that just like soaks it all up. That's what I would assume.
Yeah, and add to that the adults, like the educational professionals at the top, meeting with the governor of their own state, are usually out of touch with like the actual level of teaching. This is why, like, if you work in any job and you have some professional development, they come in, they're like, when I was doing this job, it was like this, and that person's been gone forever. So they're totally removed from the reality of whatever the job is. And with teaching, that's particularly relevant because teaching is a career that begins again every year, right? It's not like linear. It always begins again. You always start over. So there are huge changes. And probably the biggest thing is that education in terms of budget is always going to be there, and they know that no matter what they give it, they can kind of put it aside. Like they have that, and they can, they can act like, okay, we're going to do this or that or whatever, but there's a bunch of stuff tied to it. But what they really need to do that's politically expedient will be like, this bridge or
Right.
something that's a politically hot topic, and then they can put the other one aside.
That's what I was
for
going to say.
example,
Sorry, go on.
well, for example, like part of the budget, I don't really know or even like really care about this stuff, but I do know that part of the budget in a lot of places in Virginia for education is tied to the police and like speeding tickets. So if you drive through Virginia and you get a speeding ticket on the highway, which is like, we're notorious for that, the money from that, the revenue is supposed to go directly to education. It's supposed to go to the, whatever the county or the city is, but it can go to the police first for like necessary purchases. So that counts as like, oh, we need new cars. Right. We just got new cars, but we need new ones. We got to get ammo. We got to get, new uniforms. So it's like discretionary. It ends up being whatever. And it's always a very low amount.
Yeah.
They always have to fight for every little grant that they get. And of course, the people high up usually take, big salaries. And that's fine if they, if they're at the top and they've gotten there. I don't, that's whatever. But like if you've been teaching in a school for like 30 years and you're making like,
well, the salary
$50,000 a year, it's
the salary isn't
poor.
even what they're really getting. It's kind of like you were just talking about, like with the bridges. We see that in pretty much anything where there's government money coming in. I mean, we had here in New York, Chuck Schumer just did this whole big show about how they're reinvigorating this one specific part of the waterfront. And it's just like we had an art gallery. Albright Knox over here in Buffalo, massive art gallery. Millions and millions and millions of dollars for this project, right? To like build a new wing of the thing. And you see the thing and you're like, this did not cost, $50 million to make. Like
Right.
it's like some drywall and a fucking and some plaster or whatever. So
Yeah.
it seems like they do is they make this big showpiece out of some project, and it's like, oh, we spent 50 million on this, but you don't know how much
Right.
money they actually spent on it. Chances are they spent half that and pocketed the rest and just wrote it off as business expenses. Maybe they got
Especially in New York.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I would assume that that happens a lot too. Like when I was in high school, our high school, built a whole new Olympic-sized swimming pool, and like that was like the
Yeah.
big thing. And God only knows how much money that cost to build a swimming
Yeah.
pool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the infrastructure and the buildings, like those are big expenses. I think Kristen said like the roads are perpetually crumbling. I mean everything's just shit. Everything in the country is just
Oh yeah,
the planes are falling apart. That like everything sucks.
yeah,
But like, I mean basic things like books. I mean that's just they're gone. Like there's no books.
right.
There's gone. Everything's it's supposed to be online, but then there's like the internet's slow. There's no internet. There's not enough computers. If you if you go to the pawn shop and wherever the big high school is, like near it, it'll be loaded with laptops from the school.
Oh
Like, it's
yeah.
just loaded with them. They get the laptop and then sell it to the pawn.
Dude, I was telling you a couple months ago, when I was with my ex, her daughter was just starting kindergarten. They gave him a laptop. They gave her a friggin' laptop for kindergarten. I was like, what? Like take
Yeah, the
home.
iPad kids. Yep.
Yeah, and it wasn't even an iPad. It was a full on laptop for games, school math games and stuff. And I was just blown away. I'm like, damn, dude.
Well, because we want to make everybody learn how to code, but the problem
Yeah.
is that I think the boomers thought that the younger generations were tech savvy and would be great with computers, but they're not.
Mhm.
They are if they have an interest in it,
Right.
but most don't. They don't. The average kid probably now, let's say it's probably like a 14-year-old, does not know how to Google a topic. They don't know how to like do research on a topic. They have no interest in doing it. They can GPT a paper,
Right.
which is something,
They can TikTok.
but
They can TikTok dance
That's-
their.
it's all TikTok. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
This reminded me with the laptops. I don't think I've told the story before. A friend of mine works in so his one of his one of his assistant managers, he's a manager at this place he works, and one of his assistant managers like takes care of her granddaughter, and so she lives in an area where they don't have internet, and so when everything shut down in 2020, they were like, oh well, you have to go remote, like the students are going to have to be remote. And so she, contacted the school or whatever. I don't know whoever it is that handles that. And she was like, I can't do that because I don't have internet where I live. And because the area where they live, like there's areas out there that like just don't. It's not like super remote. They just haven't. It's
They
like
live in
rural
Carcosa.
area.
Right.
Yeah. So they don't. They just haven't run internet out there. And so she was like, I can't do that. So what do I do? Like, I need some other option. And they told her, well, move.
Learn how to dig ditches. Yeah, no, you can't do that no more, dude.
Are
We
you
had a
Walmart's
doctor.
got good Wi-Fi.
We had
She's
a
like, I'm not
doctor.
gonna sell
Sorry,
my
go
house and move. Like that's it. I don't know. I was like, that's just insane to me. That's the answer is sell your house and move somewhere
Right.
else.
Well, yeah, they really are pushing that out. Like you can't not have internet for a lot of this stuff. I mean, we had a pretty high profile case. I want to say this was like 7 years ago now over here, where we had this old lady doctor, and she had this practice for something like 60 years, some crazy long time, and it was like a staple of her, village and stuff, and everybody knew her. And she didn't have any computers. It was all file cabinets. Everything was pen and paper, file cabinet, old fashioned. And they forced her to retire. They forced her to stop practicing because there were some like national protocol or whatever for doctors that it was like, no, you can't. You got to be in the database. Like you got to have everything online. She would refuse to do it, so they literally shut down her practice.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
But good for her for resisting.
Yeah.
And holding out.
Yep.
Yeah, you need three things for that. You need a DEA number, you need a stabby, and you need a physician's desk reference.
Yeah.
We're going to do an operation on your. Hold on, let me look it up. Head.
And at least one gay employee. You got to have that.
and nurse brigade who's good at TikTok dancing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the most important thing.
Oh, man.
So I had a story I did. I sent Jerry this earlier.
Yeah, I didn't read it. I wanted to be surprised here.
That's fine. I'm not going to pull this one up on screen, but this is from the Daily Fail, and this is the headline is Florida. They have the longest headlines. Florida private Christian school brands OF. I think y'all know what that means by now.
Mhm.
Mom, a quote unquote sinner who will face quote unquote the eternal judgment of Christ after expelling her sons over her $20,000 a month X-rated career. This woman was slammed for her sexual sin by the principal who booted her kids from his private school. He said that her antics are inconsistent with the teachings of the Bible. She added she told her kids' school to, quote, kiss my ass when they told her to delete her X-rated accounts. So this woman, of course, they just repeat the headline in like the first three.
Bye. Right.
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 Yeah. I mean, honestly,
So-
this strikes me as the kind of thing where it's kind of like that bakery story that got all that traction. You know, the guy wouldn't bake the
Mhm.
cake for the same. This seems like the kind of person who she probably went around to a bunch of different Christian schools to try to find one that would let her in so that she could get the fame for being kicked out for being a porn
Yeah.
star. And
Yeah.
then she gets all this attention. Then
'Cause
her
why would they
Instagram
even
blows
know?
up and
Right.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
She
well,
probably
the-
like
the-
emailed the principal under an anonymous name. Look at what so and so is doing. You know, like snitched on
Yeah.
herself. Yeah.
Well, so the problem was that she was initially only banned from bringing her SUV onto campus because it advertises her account.
Pussy
But her-
wagon.
Literal the pussy wagon from Kill Bill. That's probably what she was driving.
It said her two children were subsequently expelled from Liberty Christian Preparatory School after she allegedly flouted the rules before putting a larger advertising decal on her back windshield instead, which she denies. So after expelling her kids, the principal justified his decision because it said that what she's doing is inconsistent with the teachings of the Bible. He said this is a vice and a sin that destroys lives and breaks up marriages. True.
Based.
True.
Based, yes. And
The principal's probably the number one donor.
He's her top fan.
He's like, now you're all mine.
he said that the negative impact of this kind of content on youth can result in future long-term relationship issues. Consuming, producing, distributor advertising this kind of content is inconsistent with the teachings of the Bible, the church, and the school. Scripture is clear.
Can I interrupt you real quick, Maddie?
Yeah.
I mean, the problem here is that he said that, you know, he was worried about the kids, but then he put the sins of the mother on the kids and kicked them out. Right. And so, I mean, but the fact is that with a private school, pretty much anywhere, these are the rules, and you know, there's nothing, you know, that's it. I mean, you can have like, you can get D's in class and they're like, you're sorry, you're not suitable here. Maybe you'd like to mow my lawn instead. I mean, it's over.
Yeah.
So, and that's a shame, but you know, this mother, like, first of all, where's the other member of this partnership, right? Where's he?
You can assume he's not involved.
Right. He did the airbrush on the truck.
That's her live-in boyfriend. That's not the father. The father's gone. No,
But her poor kids. I mean, that sucks.
Yeah, we just don't know the context for the story, though. You know what I mean? Because it could if it was like just a low-key thing that nobody knew about, you know, she probably wouldn't have gotten all this heat. Like, who knows, like, what happened? I mean, obviously, I don't think she's actually driving around in a big truck, you know, but it says that she's got advertisement on her vehicle, so she very clearly wasn't keeping it very low-key. And
right.
You know, so if it becomes a problem, I mean, those kids would probably would probably become a distraction for the whole school. Everybody's talking about, bro, did you see Billy's mom, dude? Yo, check this out. You know, like.
Yeah, that's uncomfortable. How old are her kids? Does it say?
I read this quickly the other day, and okay. So this actually, it gets worse. He said that it says that she is far from shy about promoting her career, which rakes in a staggering $20,000 a month with her videos often featuring her husband. She had been openly advertising her OF account on her car with window decals, sparking the initial trouble after several parents at her kid's school complained. She was then ordered to drop her children off across the street, but claimed to the Post, I guess wherever they're getting the story from, that this wasn't enough, and the school decided to expel her children. The school reportedly offered the possibility of re-enrolling her kids if she removed the decal and deleted her profiles. She said, I felt like when they asked me to park off campus, I immediately obliged. I never had my car on campus again. And then it's like that wasn't enough, and they had to take it a step further. I just feel like taking it out on the kids wasn't really fair.
Look, if she's making 20 racks a month, she can send her kids to Lit Rosie CIA boarding school in Switzerland. I mean,
exactly.
Like, why they got to go here?
Yeah.
She,
I
like
really
Jerry
think it was
said,
the fishing. Yeah.
Yeah, she wanted the clout. Right. Weird clout.
Yeah. Well, now that she's got this article, you know, how many people are going to go look up her name? It says her OF name right in the article. So
yes,
how many people are going to go subscribe now, you know?
And it shows the actually a photo of the truck with, you can see the decal.
Oh, what kind of truck?
It's a
and what color?
Ford. It looks like an F-250.
Yeah.
White.
Mm-hmm. I want to show it. I want to do the show it, but this article's got a big freaking pop up right in front of the damn picture. But yeah, I mean it says OF. It takes up the whole window. You know, it says the actual website title / her name, and it's the whole thing. I mean, it's the whole back window. Like it's literally. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
don't compromise on that clout, right? I mean,
make your money, Queen.
That's like there was a big political case here in like right outside of Richmond of I think maybe a state senator, this lady, and they found that she had the same thing with her hubby, and it was big. It was big. And so then there were news articles, and the campaign ran, and it said, "We're not going to fund this, this thought," right? But the other words, like right on the 6 o'clock TV, this lady is and then so she was angry because they were calling her names, but she had no recourse. It was like, well, yeah, but this is the thing. And then like, there's your husband, and why does he look like a gub? Right? Why does he look like a test tube gub man? Why does he look like a Gumby man, like AOC's husband? That's even worse. So I don't know what happened to her though. I think she lost.
That's probably for the best. I mean, that's a hard thing to.
But I guess then she made bank from that. So
right, Yeah, so it says apparently they're going. They're going to homeschool their children and plan to move to a new neighborhood. Now, this is okay.
That's odd.
What really got me about this the most. Actually, yeah. At the end of the article here, it says she felt offended by the fact that the school added in its offer that she would have to desire to sincerely seek repentance and restoration, which she's clearly has no interest in, like doesn't see that this is a problem. And this is what's insane to me. It's like, it's bad enough that you're doing this. It's bad enough that you're advertising it, but to drive around with your two sons in in a vehicle that you were advertising this for. Like, I know the word narcissist gets thrown around a lot, and a lot of people use it incorrectly because whole pop psychology thing. Oh, anybody who's self-absorbed is a narcissist. But like, this to me seems like classic mental illness, like malignant narcissistic behavior. Like,
I just think it's like, if this were the Middle Ages, it would be like shame. But there's no shame. There's just no sense of that anymore.
Just using your family as a circus, a spectacle to drive attention to your online work like that is insane. And we see that a lot, not even just with the OF types, but like, you see these girls on Instagram or whatever, trotting out their babies for their content, or like a dude's like, talking, I'm a good father. Look at the way and they're using their children for content. It's so gross, dude.
Yeah, no, like those family YouTubers.
I'm the most humble guy around. I'm way more humble than anybody else. And you're saying that a hero emerges? I'm a hero? You're saying I'm a hero?
Yeah, that the whole like family YouTuber thing, that's freaking weird to me. And then I don't know. It's just strange when people have their whole thing is like, oh, let's have these scripted Instagram reels, where I'm gonna where, you know, it's obvious, like, oh, we wrote this script, and then these, you know, married couple, we're going to clown on each other, and it's funny
Well,
because, you know, hashtag relatable.
Mhm.
I
And it's
mean,
like,
yeah,
why
but
am I
you
getting
know what?
recommended this?
It's a digital world, and I mean, to be fair, like a lot of people who do that probably mean well. They have good intentions. They want to, you know, share their beautiful family or whatever. And at least here's my positive, positive sandwich. At least this lady is able to feed her kids, right? And I guess stays true to her beliefs. Okay, that's, I mean, right? That's got to be a positive somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
They call me Mr. Positive, right? So I'm trying to.
Mr. Optimist, yes.
Right.
Yeah, no, I definitely think, you know, there's got to be those kinds of people on there too. But a lot of times when I see this stuff, it's just it's so feigned. You know, it's like this feigned wholesomeness that's just so gross to me. Like, it's not real. You know, it's very much like you said, Maddie. Like, it's staged, scripted stuff. You know. And also it's just so exploitative of the children that it's like, you know, these kids can't agree to have their, you know, childhoods plastered on the internet for people to watch. Like, it's just, I don't know. But yeah, for sure. No, there's definitely, I'm sure, wholesome, well-meaning people out there that do it. But I feel like if you embark on that endeavor, eventually you're going to have that moment of clarity where you're going like, what am I doing here? Like,
Right. Yeah, I think, and I don't know. I don't want to get in like a religious thing, but I mean, apparently this couple has been involved with, I guess this church, this school is attached to a church, and they like go to the church and put their kids in the school, and it's like that kind of, there's so many people like don't see a problem with that. It's like, oh, well, if she's doing it with her husband, and I'm sure they rationalize it, well, you know, we're married, so no big deal. And it's just a weird thing that it's like, well, we can do this because I don't know. It's just the mental gymnastics that people go through, and like we all do it. I'm not trying to be like, oh, like I would never do any kind of mental gymnastics or justify my own bad behavior. Like literally everybody on earth does it. But
You heard it here. We all do it. Maddie just admitted that he also makes tapes, just like Pat Bateman.
yes.
Right? He's got his VHS camera. You heard it here, folks.
yes, I have tapes. I'm actually moving to a penthouse on the Upper East Side next
Except
month.
your tapes are of us playing Minecraft after this. Right?
Yes, those are
it's
actually what the
way-
tapes
it's
are.
way more lame. Yeah.
Thank you. People were gonna be like, whoa, what's this guy up to? And now we're just playing Minecraft. That's
Right.
literally
Two views.
That's literally it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 views. Yeah, I have to get them digitized and then upload them to YouTube and then premiere them. It's a labor of love.
Speaking of which, can I take us on a little tangent here for a second?
Yes.
I've found my old handy camcorder that I got for Christmas when I was like 18 or 19. And I found the one tape that I ever made. And it's just like, it's like a meme. I turn it on, it's got the date and the year. And there's my little sister, there's my best friend in the old house, there's my old dog and my old cat, my mom and dad, who are like my age now in the video. And life was like, people did have a spark in their eyes before the big 9. Although this is also right after the big. But one of the tapes is of the only one that I ever made of Belfast, which is like, I don't know, it's wild. So I've been ruminating on that. Of course, I can't hook it into a modern TV. It's in black and white when I hook it up, and there's no sound.
Right.
So
yeah, I'm sure you need a converter of some sort. They probably sell some sort of converter. Isn't that stuff the best, dude? When you find those old tapes.
It's very cool. Yeah.
I wish I still had those. I have one disc that we made like maybe 10 years ago. We converted the tape to a DVD-R or whatever, and I have one of those left in the basement. Because when we were kids, we used to make movies. Like, I wanted to be a director, so me and all my friends would make movies. We had a skit comedy show we would do and stuff, and we're like 12. Between the ages of 12 and 16, we were always doing that. And every once in a while, I put that on, and it's just such it's so fun to be able to go back and watch those, man.
At Halloween, I saw a mother said that her 2 little daughters made a Halloween horror movie. It's like 3 seconds, and it's one of her daughters standing there, and the other one has a spatula, and she like whoosh, like that, and then they show it like a Barbie head falling, and it says splatula. It's like a 3-second movie that's more brilliant than any Hollywood movie out now.
Nice.
That's actually pretty good. I like that. That's creative.
Yeah, very cool. I sent it to somebody and they were like, "This is inappropriate." Like,
I don't
what?
I don't
I
know why
shouldn't have sent it to you.
this reminds me of this, but I was just the other day I just stumbled across this channel on YouTube. This guy, he like does all these little stupid projects to like make stuff, make a boat out of styrofoam or whatever the hell. And he made a movie theater for squirrels. And he, he like
Hell
went
yeah.
all
Hell
out,
yes.
dude. He went all out. He constructed this whole, basically what amounts to like a birdhouse, but like a long flat birdhouse for squirrels. And you know, decorated the whole thing, put a marquee out front, filmed and then edited a whole horror movie for squirrels, and then put like an iPad inside with like the, you know, curtains around it and stuff. And it's just like
Hell yeah.
squirrels, squirrels getting, you know, nuts and stuff. And then he put like all these little security cameras in there. And like left it out there for like 2 weeks, and like put snacks in there. He had like a bowl of raspberries, a bowl of blackberries, a bowl of walnuts, a bowl of peanuts to see what, you know, which ones they liked. And it was so cool, dude.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Dude, you got to send me that video if you
I
still
will.
have
It's
it.
great.
That sounds
Yeah,
sick.
it's easy to find. Yeah.
That's cool. That's like the dude that like fed the one raccoon, and now like 500 raccoons come to his backyard every day.
That was me when I lived in Florida, dude. We had all these coons in the backyard, and they'd always come to the door, you know, we'd bring them out popcorn or whatever the hell, and they would come up, you know, with their little hands and grab
Yeah.
it and sit there. And
Yeah,
eat it.
if
It
I
was like, it
if
was
I were an
awesome.
animal, I'd want to be a raccoon because they have hands. It's important
Mhm.
for me to have hands, and they got little masks.
Yeah.
You know, the little bandits, like, and they always have like the families stick together. That's cool.
Oh yeah.
I think they're the
Like-
only animal that washes their hands too, which is there might be others, but I'm pretty sure they're the only ones that do.
Otters, beavers, I guess all of the.
Oh well,
Hand
yeah, I guess water animals. They may be the only
Yeah.
one of the only land animals that do.
Mm,
Which is I know this girl in college who showed me this video that they had like cats that lived in the garage, like they would go in there to eat. And she showed me this video her dad took because he heard something in the garage and he was like, "That's not a cat." And he went and looked, and there was a possum that had come in through the cat. Like they had one of those doors that like has the hinge on it so the cats can get in. And this possum had just come in and was just hanging out eating cat food. I was
Did
like,
I tell
dude,
you-
I'd be like, you want to stick around?
my cat Tiger decapitated a raccoon and brought the head back to our door. Giant
gnarly.
head.
Did I ever tell you that story about the possum when I lived in Florida? We had a possum get in. Yeah, so you know, not only did we have raccoons in the backyard, but we had these possums too. Like, take out the recycling at night, and the freaking possum had the recycling can, tipped over, and you almost trip on it. You're like, I'm sorry. Well, we were watching. My girlfriend at the time, her grandparents had like a house in Florida, so we were staying there watching the house, and we slept in the back room, and at night the one day we started hearing feet pattering above our head. We're like, oh no, you know, some squirrels got in or something. So we were trying to get the squirrels out over the course of a couple of weeks, and then eventually you just heard something super large and heavy, just thunk, thunk, thunk. We're like, now what the fuck's up there, dude? Turns out it was a possum started living in the fucking ceiling.
It was the alpha of all possums.
But it was just that moment of like, you know, we're used to hearing like the little squirrels run, and then all of a sudden you just hear something heavy. Like, is that a fucking alligator? What's up there now?
Were
dude?
you scared it was a hider in the house?
We're just like we gotta fix this before her grandparents get back. We can't have them come back and have possums and squirrels living in the freaking house.
There's a movie with Gary Busey called Hider in the House, and he is squatting in the house, and then he just hides in the walls, like, and the family lives there, and he's
Yeah.
like, I guess
That's
I'm going to kill everyone.
That's a real
It's a
thing.
real-
Have you ever?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nasty. Yeah,
Yeah, they had. I seen the one YouTube video that documented all like the times that's actually happened, you know, and they have like security footage of the girl like sneaking out the basement at 2 a.m. to eat
Oh
food
my
out of their fridge.
dude.
It's like no.
Yeah.
I think there was one of these OF girls that found there was like a guy who had stalked her and like found out where she lived. I think it was like living in her attic or something.
Dude,
Oh my goodness.
That
is
was freaking.
terrifying.
I'm pretty sure that was it was something of that.
it happens a
was
lot in
pretty crazy.
college, like in off-campus, you know, apartments. They'll be like, "What's that door down there?" I don't know. It's always locked, and there's a guy.
He's been here
Why-
since 1983.
Yeah, they're like, "Why are all my ramen noodles gone?" And when I get up in the morning, there's
He's
Cheerios
still
everywhere.
enrolled. He's still
Yeah, it's
he's taking
nasty,
classes
dude.
online.
That is so nasty.
I sent you the link, Maddie. Just so
Okay.
later you can watch it. Yeah, it's fun.
Appreciate that.
Shouts out to the chat out there, by the way. Everybody here, big crowd tonight. Big
Yeah,
crowd tonight, Maddie. 25 people in the chat right now. Shouts out to everybody out there. Thank you for coming here to Maddie's channel And I'm happy to be here with my friend Maddie. I'm going to speak for everyone. I'm happy to be here with my friend Maddie on his channel, Digital Minefield, and with our friend Jerry, exposing powerful lies. Good to see everybody on. What is today? What is this? Is it Friday? Oh man, damn it!
Just ruined your night.
Yeah, I'm on spring break in like 3 weeks though, so I'm on.
Nice. And you got that big. You got that big Michael Mann stream tomorrow.
That's right. Yeah. I've added 2 movies, so we're doing Miami Vice with Jamie Foxx and the movie. What else? What was the other one? Thief, 1981, James Caan. And then I added, somebody sent a big fat super chat, so I'm doing Last of the Mohicans. Nice. It doesn't really fit the theme, but it's still Michael Mann. And then why not? Let's do Collateral too, because it's Tom Cruise. And he's so fucking sweet in this movie, dude. That's a great movie. You guys seen that movie, Collateral?
I think I saw. I'm pretty sure I've seen that one. What's the premise?
2006. Jamie Foxx is a cab driver in L.A. Picks up Tom Cruise with gray hair and a gray suit. He's a hitman. Guy driving around while he smokes all these like witnesses for the cartel or something. It's one of it's
nice.
It's Tom Cruise like playing a villain, and he's very, very good. I got a whole Tom Cruise rant that I want to go on sometime.
Nice.
After listening to that Sam Hyde. He was talking about it on Fish Tank, and it's crazy because like these things kind of go around, right? Like I heard the name Damon Wayans like 7 different times yesterday in different places, unrelated. I'm like, what? It's weird how these things go around. But Tom Cruise, the way that Sam was talking about Tom Cruise is the way that we've like kind of, it's kind of mirrors our thoughts about him, which is not like the normal. Not really the normal thesis, I guess, for Tom Cruise. And so that's going to be part of my thing tomorrow night. Tom Cruise has transcended his sort of role in Hollywood. It's not just actor, producer. It's not movie maker, entertainer. It's not just sort of like there's something that's sort of unnameable about what he is. It's like, well, it's not fame. It's not celebrity. Sam was talking about how like, he probably doesn't even have a concept of that anymore. That's sort of irrelevant. And what I like is that the dude is probably one of like only a handful of guys in Hollywood generally who like exist, like they materialized and then they went into this industry and they exist to like entertain. Right. Now there's all the, stuff that you can get out of it, but it's like, clearly his purpose is just to make movies that we go to. And every single one is a banger, dude. Every single one.
Well, that's what the whole thing about Top Gun, right? I mean, when that came out, a lot of people were really excited because it was like finally a movie that's not about boys in dresses.
Yep. Exactly. Yes. And he's worked with everyone. I know he's doing the last Tarantino movie, supposedly.
What? I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, Tarantino's final film. I think Tom Cruise is the star, which is interesting.
Did he announce anything?
I don't know what it's the movie's called. It's like The Movie Maker or something. I don't know what it's called, but it's interesting because at the beginning of his career, Tarantino had that famous monologue in that other movie about Top Gun.
Yeah. Oh! I thought you were saying about how he said he only wanted to make 10 movies.
Yeah, he has that thing about Top Gun is actually about Maverick and his repressed Skittles, because you can ride my tail anytime, Iceman, right? It's about that. It's funny, this monologue, but that was the beginning of his career.
Was that in True Romance?
It was in this movie called I think Destiny Turns on the Radio, which Tarantino was in,
wasn't it?
Well, he was in it and he like wrote for it, but it wasn't like his movie. He did a bunch of those.
It was probably that guy. He was friends with Roger Avery or whatever his name is.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, I like that.
Probably was. Yeah.
Yeah, he did Killing Zoe. It's a good movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
True Romance is dope, dude.
Oh, it's so good.
That's
he was
fantastic.
Tarantino and Lynch were my favorite, filmmakers when I was a kid, and I was really bummed because a lot of his like recent movies were not good. I really did not like Django. I didn't like, what was that other one he did? I liked the Hateful Eight. I didn't like
that one.
No, I dug that. But Django and then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I like it's all right, but I don't know. It's just sort of doesn't have what he used to have,
Yeah.
So I would still obviously go see his last film just because that's the last one. Like you hope he goes out with a bang, right? Like
Yeah. Well, at least he's an original filmmaker, writing and making his own movies. That
Right.
counts for something. But he's also old. I think he lives in like Tel Aviv now, I think.
What? That makes
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense.
His
Yeah.
wife's
He has
Israeli.
nothing to do with it. He just decided to move there. He's like, oh, this is great.
Well, his wife is Israeli, so that's probably why.
Oh,
they
she
moved
is.
Well,
there.
he got all wrapped up in the BLM stuff too. Remember back when that was going on, all the BLM stuff. He was like out there giving speeches and stuff.
Yeah, because they're like, is it really necessary for you to drop hard R's like this much, in every movie?
He's like, yes. I mean, he used to really defend that like a lot. You know, he's like, I'm writing for black people, and then Sam Jackson came out and was like, it's fine, he's cool, he's got the N-word pass. You know, yeah.
It's weird when Martin Scorsese does it, like in The Departed, in that one scene. That's like, there's no reason for Jack Nicholson to do
Or
that.
how about True Romance with Dennis Hopper? Dude,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's the top one right there.
Well, one thing with Tarantino, I mean, the guy's kind of a nut, but I appreciate that he's, I don't know what the right word is. I remember he was on, I think it was Leno years ago, and he was talking about how he was just talking about like getting in fights, and he was saying he'd gotten in one with this cab driver. They were going to some like party or some event or something, and he said that he was in like the back passenger seat of this cab, I guess in LA or New York or something, and he said that the cab driver made some rude remark about his date, this woman he was with, and so he said that anytime he gets in a fight, it costs him like $35,000 or $30,000, whatever it was.
I'll be right back.
Just having to like settle. And so he said that he's getting out of the cab, and he's like, I'm gonna go beat this guy's ass. And then he said, as he's walking around the car, he's like, is this a good idea? Like, is this worth $30,000?
Right.
And so then he said, by the time he said he gets around and the cab driver like opens up the door, he's like, come on, like, let's go. He's like, all right, yeah, it's worth it. So he said he knocks the guy back into the cab and like grabs his hair and just starts wailing on him, like bashing the guy's face in. And so he said, I guess he had to be, he had to settle for 30 grand or whatever. It was like, yeah, in that case, it was worth it.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I kind of appreciate that sort of kind of like unhinged, because the guy's kind of unhinged, and he's got this kind of weird sort of energy. And I really appreciate.
Dude, there's so many clips of him fighting people to that end.
Yeah, and it's I respect that the guy is willing to throw hands over things that he thinks are worth it. And I mean, there's so much that where everybody's and I'm not saying you should go around getting in fights over things. That's not really a good idea. But in an era where especially celebrities are so soft and they're always trying to be, everybody has to their agents and PR, they have bodyguards and they're kind of insulated. And it's like, no, this guy that's taking a cab and is going and like bashing the face in of the driver who made some, like what rude remark about
He's like, I want you to listen. Date. Okay, I'm going to shut your butt down. Okay, I'm going to shut your butt down. How does he say it? And then me and Paul Thomas Anderson. Okay, we were in this movie theater. Okay, and then Norm does a great Tarantino.
Oh, yeah. He's always got to use the word cat for person, like he's a beatnik. This cat was crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, if he had just made Pulp Fiction, then that would have been enough. And I think, I mean, that movie is still. I mean, it's still an amazing movie. It still holds. I'm sure it always will. Remember how pissed he was that he didn't win Best Picture and Forrest Gump won, but he still got an Oscar for the screenwriting. But
yeah. Tom Sizemore's nuts, dude. I remember I was like 10 or something. I was really young, and I remember in a grocery store walking, with my mom or whatever, walking up to check out, and there was like one of those tabloids on there, just a picture of Tom Sizemore smoking heroin on a toilet seat. You know what I mean? He's nuts, dude. So I could see him throwing down. Yeah.
Best friends with what's her name? Heidi Fleiss. Dude, Tom.
I can still picture that image in my head of that, because I just remember being so young, looking at that, like, oh, I know him from that one movie.
Yeah, that dude went hard. Oh, definitely. Yeah. That guy was awesome in he played the same role in Saving Private Ryan and in Black Hawk Down. He played the same role, right? The sergeant who gets like shot a bunch of times and he's like, "Go, I don't feel anything. Drive the Humvee." Right? He did the same role in both movies. Dude, he rocks, man.
They probably could have actually shot him a bunch of times and he'd been like, "I don't feel anything. Go ahead."
Yeah, he's like, "I'm on speedballs and I got an appointment with Heidi Fleiss."
I'm on PCP. I can't feel a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, Jason, real quick,
Jason.
Jason makes a really good point. He said, if you watch the special features of Planet Terror, it shows Quentin playing a zombie that attacks Fergie, and he's way aggressive with her and bitter. She showed the bite mark too. That reminds me, he did an interview. He was being interviewed by somebody alongside Robert Rodriguez, and his actual the character he played in Planet Terror that Tarantino played was Grapist #1, and he was like, "Oh yeah, like I'm the #1." I'm not even gonna say
he's
that.
a creeper confirmed, dude.
And he also, remember who
From Dusk Till Dawn.
From Dusk Till Dawn.
He was also
wrote that because he wrote that character basically for himself.
Yep.
And we know what he did in the motel room while Clooney's character was out. And it's like, this guy there's something
for sure.
Pretty.
He's like, put your feet in the window of this car. I'm gonna film it for 3 hours.
Right. Well, he had a thing with Uma Thurman too, and that was like a thing that they talked about was him and Uma Thurman, and then he puts her in the lead role of his movie,
Yeah, didn't she had that thing about in that scene where she's driving in Kill Bill 2, she like crashed the car. Did you hear about that? She like wrecked the car, and there was something with that. He was like, keep going, get back in it and drive. And she was like, my head is split open. And he was like, I don't care, something. I don't know.
But, well, not to mention the fact that he was like good buddies. What's his name? What's his name? The freaking
Weinstein,
Polanski. Weinstein, yeah. I mean, and Polanski, yeah. But I mean, it's like he used to sing the praises of Harvey Weinstein, like so hard. Well, you go back and watch those special features, and he talked about how they basically Miramax bought Reservoir Dogs and just took them under their wing, basically.
Well, to be fair,
surprised me.
I mean, to be fair, they all did that at the time. Remember, they all. I mean, and a part of that obviously is because like the guy ruled Hollywood, and it's like I'm sure he was dialed into who said what. But
if that was the only thing, I wouldn't think anything of it. But with the other stuff that we're talking about, it's
he's like, no. But afterwards, we're going to the ritual. Yeah, of course.
Right.
But Weinstein. I mean, look, say what you will, right, about all that stuff. I mean, Miramax dominated the 90s, and they did make movies.
For sure.
So, I think he passed away too, didn't he? Didn't Harvey pass away?
I think he's still alive.
He's still locked up. And by the way, his brother just like skated right under the radar. He's got a brother, right?
They're from Buffalo. You know that, right?
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. They got their start here in Buffalo. They ran like circuses or some shit like that. It was called Bob and Corky. They had a whole production thing called like Bob and Corky, and it was all from like Buffalo, Rochester area, and that's where Miramax started. Yeah.
Well, I know like Bob.
Because like I got like my friends' parents have stories of them. Like they remember them from.
They're like us and Colonel Parker. We were in the circus before we got into movies.
Yeah, it was Bob and Corky, I guess was what they called it. That's how they'll refer to them when they tell those stories, like from when they were younger. Oh yeah, I remember Corky.
Were they creeps back then?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That might be like a power thing. Like once they got, once Harvey got his power.
All right. But here's a question: if you were making movies, right, and that guy came up to you and was like, "You better follow my directions, or I'm going to do this," wouldn't you just be like, "Get the fuck out of here, dude"?
Right.
I don't even care. I don't even. I've already made money, and I don't even care. I'm not going to, dude. I heard you got an egg. Like you. They say that you're an egg. You know what I'm talking about? That's what they said. Like what the fuck?
Yeah.
Right. But what are you talking about?
He's just like this grotesque, like Shrek-looking creep.
Yeah, it's like, you know who I am, but I know who you are, and I know where your office is. I'm just going to go there.
But like, no, man. Like, I'll go get financing from, like, I don't know.
I'll go get Tom Steesmore to come in there with
I'll go to the mob and get money from the mob, like all those movies do. Yeah, that kind of ties in with the show that I'm planning to do tonight about physiognomy, and how you can see, people like that just become this sort of grotesque thing in their face,
So I was actually going to ask you about what you got coming up. So I don't want you to spoil the stream. Do you think it's a chicken or egg type of thing? Like, do you think? Because I think it tends to be that because some people just like look weird from And
Sure.
it's not looking weird. That's the thing. Sometimes people will be
No.
like, "Oh, you just think someone is ugly or not conventionally attractive." Like, no, it's something you can see in them. And
It's a
maybe not chicken or egg.
universal.
That's not the right way to put it, but it's like it's
Phenotype.
It's a universal thing that happens with people, which is that sin just corrodes the soul, and the soul is a part of the body. And so obviously, you know, and to what you were saying, you can't judge people based on appearances. It isn't necessarily a physical thing. I think if anything, it's in the eyes, right? And
Yeah.
there's just in the same way that saints, you know, towards the end of their life will glow and will have this uncreated light about their face where you can't put it under a microscope and say this is it, but you know when you see it. So too, I think is the effect of sin in a person where it's not physical. We interpret it as physical because we're looking at somebody, but it's also like this sort of energetic thing beneath it that we experience where you know we can look at somebody and you just get a bad feeling and you're like, okay,
Right.
you know.
I would say, like, look at the difference between, for instance, like somebody who's ravaged by like crack and a person who is ravaged by the other things.
Right.
And the difference is, generally speaking, is that people who are suffering still maintain. I don't know. I'm just
Yes.
generalizing.
No.
Here, but
100%.
they still maintain like
They can.
a lightness.
Yes. They can.
But
100%.
we all know that there are other people that you come across in life, usually in unexpected ways, that the hair that happened to me recently, actually, in a bookstore. Someone I felt the hair on my neck stand up before I saw them, and then when they walked past, you know, like there's a smell. There's a. Have you ever experienced? You ever experienced that, like with someone where you smell brimstone? I can't explain it.
It's like an energy, like that's what I was trying to get at. Yeah, no, for sure, I've had experiences like that, and kind of like what you were saying, how you know, if a person you know is suffering and they have some you know bad demon, they can still sort of. That's not the same thing as when you come across somebody like what you're just saying. You know, that's a whole different thing. Like I knew a guy when I was still hopping trains and stuff, who was one of the sweetest, nicest guys I met. Just such a light in his eye, such a energy about him, such a kind, loving person, but he was like a vicious alcoholic, you know, like he had this brutal demon on his back and so bad that he would have seizures every day, like 5 seizures a day, you know, would be at like the camp spot and his girlfriend would have to take care of him because he was just seizing up, puking blood in the morning, all that horrible effects of alcoholism. But, you know, he wasn't like a bad dude, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He wasn't a malicious guy. And so there was still that sweetness and love in him. You
that's
just feel bad for him, you know. It's like, oh man, I wish this guy could get this monkey off his back, you know.
Right.
Yeah, because that's something you can see. Like, there's people who are in a bad way who, yeah, like you said, that person who's, you know, an alcoholic or somebody on crack or whatever, and is that, you know, because sometimes you see, you know, when people who are in those kind of like bad addictions, for example, kind of turn around, and then it's like, whoa, you know, they might still, you know, maybe not look a little bit rougher than if they hadn't lived that way, but there's kind of like a vitality that can come back. But it's yeah, because you even see, like, you know, I encounter from time to time people who, you know, have haircuts and, you know, wearing decent clothes, you know, people who look like, you know, presentable, quote unquote, and, you know, clean cut,
but they have those black marble eyes.
That's the perfect contrast.
But it's like,
yeah, that's exactly what I was going to get into. That's the sort of contrast to that is like when I was delivering ice last year, we had to deliver ice to this gay pride event thing where it was like this like youth center thing, and there was all these like rich white liberals there, and it was just like the pit of hell looking into it, and everybody looked really nice, everybody had nice clothes on, and you just look in there and you're like, oh god, that's literally hell on earth. Like you just could feel the evil emanate from that place, and just the falseness, the fakeness, and we're all here just to, like, you know, pat ourselves on the back and probably raise money and do all this shit. And so there's definitely that thing where you can't judge based on appearances. It's more than appearances, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a where I live, there's a sort of wealthy entrepreneur who's kind of known, like people know who he is, and he this company I used to work for is run by a couple that I know, and they do like events and things, and they've, you know, dealt with that guy before. They're like, there is something weird, and he's, you know, very like presentable, clean cut, normal looking kind of guy. But they told, like, this was like, I didn't even bring that. Somehow this guy came up in conversation. They told me, they're like, this guy, there is something weird and dark. Like, you can just feel it when you're around him. Like, there, and I've met the guy. I've actually met the guy before, and I was like, this guy's kind of off-putting or something. And then, I mean, I was pretty young when I met him, but they were like, no, like, there's something seriously dark. I mean, this guy's probably like multi-millionaire. Like, he's very wealthy, but yeah, they're like, this guy is a freaking
He was
creep.
like, my real name is Krampus.
Yeah, that's one of those. That's one of those things. Once you see it, you kind of can get a feel for that kind of evil. I remember when I was pretty young, I got in trouble in school and I had to do community service, and so I went and volunteered at this like food pantry thing, and it was like this really nice old like Protestant preacher or whatever, pastor guy. It's like
Randy
80,
Balls.
he was like 85. Dude, he was like 85 years old. We called him, what, Pastor Ed or something. He was like 85 years old, just the sweetest old man, and he ran this whole food pantry thing. And he was out there in his big Suburban, what was it, Chevy Suburban? I forget what they're, but, you know, out there every day, just working his ass off, and he's like this old guy. And then he'd have all these people volunteering, and some of them had to court-ordered volunteer community service, and some of them were just there to volunteer. And there was this big dude, big fat dude, and this big wolf tattoo on his arm. It was all greasy, and you just remember getting this like really weird feeling from him. And then you find out, you know, a week or two later, he's on the sex offender list, and he's literally a child, you know what.
Dang.
And just having those interactions with somebody like that, there's definitely this energy and this darkness and this demonic thing inside of them that that you just can recognize, you know what I mean, in people.
Maybe one of the things is like pain, you know, the stuff centers around pain a lot. And one is like the like an interior, like it's directed inwards, you know, or like it's an anodyne to kill one's own pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is like like unleashing pain, you know.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, maliciousness, and I definitely think there's something about that, like that's demonic. You know, that's sort of what's being projected is this sort of demonic energy that people have when they're possessed by something. You know.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it wouldn't be a proper digital Minefield stream if we didn't talk about American Psycho, but it's like, you know, BLA, like you talked about in that. No, I mean, this relates because Bateman's whole thing is that, you know, he has that famous thing about, oh, you know, my pain is constant and sharp, you know, wants to basically unleash it on other people. And as you brought up, you know, talked about extensively in the stream you did on the novel, is that he his whole thing is like just total annihilation of humanity. It's kind of like on a sort of global scale of just kind of like killing everybody in the entire world. It's like
I've found that to be something. Yeah, I found that to be a theme that's sort of consistent with a lot of the actual, you know, serial killers. And recently I saw, I think we talked about it, a clip of an interview I saw with a guy who was a Medal of Honor recipient from Korea. And did anybody see this on Instagram? It's an old fella, and he said, the clip begins and he's wearing his Medal of Honor, and he said, in the war, he killed, like he said, like 15 to 20,000 people just through, you know, his artillery direction.
Oh, wow.
And then personally in the war, it was like another 3,000 or 4,000. And then back at home, it was another at least 200 or 300 people hand to hand. But the way that he says
back at home.
Back here, yeah, and so when he's talking, and he sort of explains, but when he's talking, he says it with a kind of sincerity where you go, this is like, who makes this up, right? First of all, and he said that he was in the war, he was in Korea, and he was with his brother, and his brother got like blown up beside him, and that when that happened, he said he had such like anger and pain that he wanted to kill everybody in the world. And so they were under attack on this like hillside, and he ran up and he like took out a machine gun like turret, and then like a whole brigade of people, and then he took out like he killed like 100 people in the war. And they kept sending guys up to assist him, but they kept getting killed, so he kept having to carry them down and then go back up. And then when he got back, he tried to sign up. He tried to go to Vietnam, and they were like, "No, this guy's he's too dangerous. We can't let him go." Yeah. And then when he got back here, he was like, "I would just go out and just fight, you know, or do, you know, anything." He said, and then he's like, "I wasn't a very pleasant person back then." It's like, no shit, dude.
Understatement of the year.
Yeah, but that kind of thing, and it's weird that Bateman has all that, but the one thing he doesn't have in the movie is those eyes. And I think that's probably an artistic choice, because one guy who does have it is Ian Holm in From Hell, right? The Jack the Ripper movie. Like, that's a great, he turns around and he says, we're in the glittering abyss, and he's doing and he's like going to do the ritual and his eyes turn black.
Yeah.
They said Ted Bundy's did that. Like 2 people saw it happen, that lived, but they have this phenotype that, I mean, that's like absolute evil psychosis.
Right.
But then there are other types, like just people with 5,000 yard, stares.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the
A
scariest
Thousand
part.
Island stare.
yeah.
The Thousand Island
Yeah.
dressing stare. That's one of the scariest parts about that kind of evil spirit, that sort of demon in people, is that it doesn't necessarily manifest in a physical way all the time, and that it is a sort of noetic perception that we can have, that gut instinct of like, I need to get away from this person, that'll set you off. And unfortunately, with a lot of people, when they're young or naive, they don't trust their gut. They don't pick up, they don't listen to that whisper inside. And that the people who, the truest evil in the world are they tend to be people who you trust, like that's what you see with a lot of child abuse and stuff, is it's the pillar of the community. It's the pastor guy or the priest guy, or it's the nice uncle that everybody likes. That's, that's the real demon is in there, so that's one of those things that, you just pick up on as you get older and you get more experience with bad stuff, is to trust your gut and to listen to that instinct, because we have those instincts for a reason,
Like, we were talking about True Detective last time, and in True Detective 1, like the bad guy who recognizes Matthew McConaughey, like when they're sitting down, I can see your soul at the corner of your eyes. It's like acid, right? You got a demon in you, boy, right? But that guy recognizes that. But there's also the Tuttle guy, right? Who's the politician, and he comes in and he's like,
Yep.
yes, I want you to make sure that you shut down this facility. He's like doing hand signs while he's talking. And I think that's the point where McConaughey's like, oh, this guy's involved, right?
Oh man, that frickin' series is so good, dude. That is
So good. But
have you guys covered any of the other seasons? I know you did season 1. Did you do 2 or 3?
Well, we did the first 3/4 of season 4.
Oh, dude, I gotta be in on the season 2 with Vince Vaughn. I gotta be in on that. I fucking love that.
It's a great
season so
season.
much. Obviously, the first season's the best, but season 2 gets so much hate, and that is so good, dude.
It's underrated for sure.
It is.
I like 2 and 3. I thought they were. I really.
3 is
I know a lot
good.
of people hated on 3. 3, I had my gripes with, but I enjoyed. I thought it was well done.
It was well done. It's a good season, right? But the first 2 were so good for me that the third one felt like a letdown, but it was still very well done. It wasn't a bad show. Yeah.
I love it when the girl goes to like the Bohemian Grove party, right? And she has her flashback. She's like,
literally, it's like a
awesome,
Bohemian
dude.
Grove. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
So and Vince Vaughn is just such a freaking king, dude. Like that was the first. That was the first serious role I really saw him in. I didn't see Brawl in Cell Block 99 at that point. I didn't see. So that was the first thing that told me, okay, this guy can act. And then obviously we did the show together on Brawl in Cell Block 99 and all those movies. Dragged Across Concrete, all that.
Season 4, I finished it. I'm not going to say anything because we're going to cover it, but I will just say again that I was right. Okay. In my prediction, right and wrong a little bit, but basically I was right. And
where can you?
I don't recommend it. Where
can you watch? Where can you watch season 4? I still haven't seen it.
I watched it on the computer. I watched it on the pirate station. I'll send it to you.
Excellent. Yes, please do.
Because I'm definitely, it's pay for it. They took Westworld off of HBO.
Really?
Yeah, it's gone.
Why?
I have the original on DVD.
And they removed it. Oh, you do? Okay.
I got the original Westworld on DVD. It was a birthday gift when I was like 15, and my dad's friend gave me Barbarella, Death Race 2000, and Westworld. Those were the 3 DVDs he got me. I was like,
Death Race 2000.
So good.
Stallone and
David Carradine.
Line in that. He's like, you mashed potato, and he like punches. You mashed potato.
Yes.
That's actually another.
David Carradine as Frankenstein. Dude, it's so good, man.
Such a good actor. Another
Yul Brynner's in the Westworld movie.
What was that?
Yul Brynner. He's the one in the Westworld movie.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it takes his face off and he's a robot. Yul Brynner,
Hmm.
dude.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. What were you saying, Matty?
Oh, another good serious Vince Vaughn movie. I think it was called The Stepfather. That was like the first serious Vince Vaughn role I saw. Have y'all seen that one, either of y'all?
No.
Yeah, I've seen it. Does that have John Travolta in it?
I think John Travolta was the dad, and yeah, Vince
Yep.
Vaughn was the stepdad, who's like the
Mhm.
psycho guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay, the first serious role I ever saw Vince Vaughn in was the remake of Psycho when I was
Yeah.
like 10.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah,
first one
shot
I
for
saw.
shot remake. Yeah.
Oh, he was in. Oh, I don't think I've ever
Yeah,
Yes.
seen that
with
one.
what's her name? Is it Tia Leone, who's now
I forget, dude.
uh
I was like 10 when I saw it, but yeah.
yeah.
On
Yeah.
demand. Back in the old days, on demand, it was a whole different ballgame, dude.
Yeah, that was not it was shot for
Nobody
shot, but it
liked
was
that.
not. Yeah, it was not
Nobody
great.
liked that.
Yeah, they were like, this guy, we need to put him in something funny. He seems funnier. But even I mean, he's not anything now. I guess he sort of jumped the shark or whatever, but he's kind of a 2000s niche,
Well,
right?
I think he's a great actor, man. He's one of my favorite actors after Brawl and Cell Block 99. I was like,
Mhm.
yes. But I think
Yeah.
really why he's not working is because of the whole, he was like very friendly with Trump. Right when that was happening,
Mm,
remember he was at the football game or whatever. He shook Trump's hand. Everybody took pictures of it and was like,
right.
"Look at him," So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
and you
think
can
one of
tell
the
he's that kind of guy. I mean, just that movie Brawl and Cell Block 99 where he's playing that sort of patriotic dude. Like you could
Yeah.
tell just based on the roles he
He's
chooses.
like, we're
to
gonna go
take.
beer bong some Cisco and Mad Dog after this, fellas.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a movie with Mel Gibson. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can tell
Yeah.
this guy's
True.
pretty based. Like,
there's a
Mhm.
classic photo of that. I think it's at the Golden Globes or something. Him and Mel are sitting at a table, and they
Oh,
have these looks on their face. I don't know what was going on, but they're obvious, like just not having whatever it was.
yeah.
yeah. They're like, look at literally everyone in this room.
Yeah,
Just filled with disgust.
Moldy Apple says Carradine death by Coom or something else. Yeah,
Yeah.
he famously died from autoerotic asphyxiation,
Yeah.
which
Yeah. No.
I don't know. I don't know what you guys think about that. You think there was anything sus about that? Because when it first happened, a lot of people were like, he was killed. He was killed. But
Yeah.
I
Oh
don't
I
know.
don't
no.
think he was because
I
I
believe what
did.
Norm said about it. Norm said basically like he was, that's what happened. And the worst part about that is that he was found. Right. I mean,
Yeah.
somebody has to, it was his son.
Right.
Right. And then he has to be
Right,
like,
right.
what is this?
Right.
Yeah, like I'm a big David Carradine fan. He's one of my favorite actors, and I've done a ton of reading about his life and career and everything, and that actually so the kind of shops which sell. There was one profile I read on him after he died. I think it was like a New York Post or something, that he was known to frequent. There was
Right.
one in Hollywood. He was known to frequent that shop that sold
Stuff like that.
certain
Yeah.
certain things, right, for
Right.
certain kinds of activities. And so yeah, I think it was just it was I mean the guy had issues, obviously. I think that and this is just not to go off on a tangent here, but this is something that when you get into the cons, piracy kind of stuff, is obviously we're all find that interesting on some level, but it's like anytime someone with any notoriety dies, immediately everyone's like, oh, he knew something about the Clintons, she knew something about the
Yeah.
Clintons. It's like, no, dude,
Right.
sometimes people just die in
Yeah.
weird
Sometimes
ways.
they die. That happens in a really, particular. I'm not
Yeah,
loud.
very particular way.
Right.
Yeah.
And so anyway, but I don't I think it was just a horrible situation that went
Agreed.
horribly wrong. That's
Well,
my
he was
take on it. I don't think
apparently,
he
like you said, he
was.
was a well-known member of that particular community that they go by various names, but the S and M community, which apparently when you get into it, you want to be the S, but you have to be the M first, and that really sucks, because you
Are
want to
you
be
ki-
the
are-
S.
Is this a joke?
And
I
apparently,
can't
like
tell.
you had to have a safe word, and his safe word was boring.
Oh, Maddie, you'll love this, dude. So you said David Carradine's your favorite actor?
One of them, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, his dad, obviously, great actor.
Mhm.
A great movie with both of them in it from the beginning of David's career was Boxcar Bertha by Martin Scorsese. You ever see that?
Mm.
Oh, was that the first one he did with Barbara Hershey?
Yes.
No, I actually have not seen that one yet. I
Dude, you
don't.
got to see
I
that.
need to.
It's
I
freaking
thought
Martin
you couldn't find
Scorsese
it.
doing a train hopper movie. I got it on DVD.
Mm.
It's all about hopping trains and robbing banks, dude. It's so good. Oh my goodness, you got to watch that. You'll love that.
Okay, I just looked it up. It's on Amazon. I think for a while, like it was hard to find or something.
Yeah, I got it on DVD back in the day because when I ordered Emperor of the North with Lee Marvin and Ernest Borgnine, I was looking up all the other hobo movies out there, and I'm like, Boxcar Bertha. I bought it just because the subject matter sounded cool, and then I find out it's a Martin Scorsese movie. I'm like, what?
Lee Marvin rocks.
Oh, dude. So does Ernest
Dude, that guy
Borgnine.
rules.
They're so good, dude.
Ernest
And if you-
Borgnine, another famous Mason.
Yes. Oh yeah. Well, he did that one movie with Captain Kirk. All all about the devil worship and stuff.
Devil's Reign, yeah.
Yes, Devil's Reign.
Yeah.
But what do you call it? If you guys haven't seen Emperor of the North, that's another one of my favorite movies. Hobo adventure movie by Robert Altman, same guy who did Dirty Dozen, and
Yeah.
so good.
He did didn't Altman do MASH? Did he do the MASH movie?
I think
He
so.
might have. That sounds
I
like
think
something
he
he would
did
do.
Yeah. That they
All
made
his
that
stuff is-
awful TV show from.
Yeah, all Altman stuff is amazing.
Lee Marvin was cool, dude.
Oh,
He,
he's so good.
He's in this movie Cross of Iron. That's very, very good. He was like that guy was in the war. He was one of those guys that was in the war. I think he was a Marine.
Yeah,
He's like, I guess I'll be a movie star now and just don't give me direction. I'm going to punch you right in the face.
Yeah.
I want a steak sandwich with cigarettes on it.
Yeah, the Killers. What was it? Big Red One, or what was that what it was called?
I never liked that movie because I always see the title as Big Red One instead of Big Red One. And I'm like, what?
The Big Red One. It's about an
Big
Indian,
Red
a
One.
real big fucking Indian.
Yeah, it's about a big redheaded lady.
Yeah. No, that was such a good movie, dude. I love that because that guy who wrote the book, he was the character in that. He wasn't Lee Marvin's character. He was the writer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was the writer of the group. When he's like
That
talking
dude
about
that
how
wrote-
we're the survivors and all these people are just cannon fodder. Like these people are going to be gone next week and we're still here and all that stuff. That was the guy's name. I forget his name now. He was a very famous filmmaker from back in the day because after World War II, he ended up becoming this big, a movie guy. But, oh man, why can't I think of his name? Yeah, a very interesting character, that guy.
The steak
I don't
sandwich
know,
with
but-
cigarettes just reminded me. Have y'all seen that famous clip of Frank Zappa where he's doing some kind of like thing on stage where people are just asking him questions? He's like sitting in a chair smoking a Winston, and this person asks him, "Is like, well, if you're so against drugs, why isn't you smoke cigarettes?" He's like, "To me, a cigarette is food."
Yeah, dude, Zappa was great, man. Oh man,
I always confuse Zappa with that
Classic.
guy Gallagher,
he does kind of look like him.
right?
Oh,
It's the
yeah,
same
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Same
That guy
sort of-
rules.
Oh, yeah.
You know what we're gonna do tonight? We're gonna smash some watermelons. That's it.
Dude.
That guy's awesome.
Yeah, Zappa. I love Zappa because it's like you just never run out. I'm still, I still haven't even come close to his entire discography. I mean, the guy just was so prolific. And a lot of it was garbage. A lot of it was like really like blasphemous trash that I'm listening to. I'm like, this is just trash. But there's so many bangers in there too. Like I can't help it. I like it.
Oh, the
Yeah,
guy
his
was
music-
an incredible writer and musician, and his band.
His
too.
music reminds me of like the way Primus made music or something. Like,
Well, they were
Remember
inspired for
Primus?
sure. Oh, dude, I've seen
Yeah.
Primus was the band I've seen live more than any other band. They were my favorite. I've seen Claypool with John Lennon's son, the Claypool Lennon
Sweet.
Delirium. I saw that live. It was a 3D show. I saw
Nice.
Primus themselves live a bunch of times. I saw the Claypool solo band live a bunch of times. The Fungi band.
Jerry was a race car driver. Jerry.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
go.
That's right. Yeah.
But I got the CD Pork Soda
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
great one.
when I was like
Classic.
14,
Yeah.
and it has that song Pork Soda on it. It's like
Pork soda.
listen, we're gonna record this. This song's called Pork Soda. I want you to take that pig over there on a spit, put it in a metal grate,
Yeah.
and then put that underwater, and then we're gonna record it.
Yep.
And it's like pork
Yeah.
soda.
Oh yeah, no, you can tell Zappa was a big influence for Claypool, and Zappa had that thing where like he would it was almost like an Andy Kaufman level, like we're gonna make something that's going to be so grating to listen to that like people put the album on, they'll be jamming out, and then they'll be doing something and forget, and then they're what the fuck is that? Like what is on right now? He's got a bunch of
Also-
songs like that.
I love that they did that. We're only in it for the money record, where they just clowned on the Beatles and like that whole hippie scene.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like blatant mocking of everybody involved in that. It was brilliant.
Speaking of Beatles, like the Twist and Shout song in True Detective 4, I was thinking about that, and I'm like, this must have been a sizable portion of the budget, right? And for there's no reason for it, right? Other than like the people are twisting and shouting in the snow, like when they find them.
Oh, I didn't think
and the
about
Ferris
that.
Bueller thing, like what the fuck, dude?
They
Like
probably
it doesn't
do
wrap
8
up.
episodes, and they're like, "Oh man, we ran out of money. We spent all
I think
the
they made one episode, and they were like, "Listen, Dr. Lecter, we got to stretch this, and we got to postpone it for like 3 years." Yeah.
So, do you want to? You mentioned you wanted to get into. You had some Tom Cruise posting you wanted to do.
I mean, you want me to read my Henry Rollins bit? It's not very clever.
I thought it was funny. If you want to,
I'm gonna read my Henry Rollins bit because this is all right. So this is Henry Rollins stand up. Okay, this is his. Remember, he went on that spoken word tour, and I saw him live, Rollins band at the Warp Tour singing "Liar," and then I saw him in like a random bar in Belfast doing his spoken word poetry. And what did I? Let me see. Dude, I gotta find it. Fuck. Because we were talking about Hunter S. Thompson at first, right? And Rusty Nelson. We talked about Hunter S. Thompson, Jerry, and Maddie made a good point today that he's like fallen off. I mean, it's like there was a time when he was mentioned all the time. I mean, it's not really relevant right now, but that's kind of part of it. That even his popularity with like young. I mean, I'm sure he'll always be popular with like young male readers, right? Getting into literature and stuff, for all the reasons that we know, I mean, all the stuff with the drugs and the trunk and all that. That's cool, But do you think he's fallen off because like it's so specific to the '60s, and then they had like a resurgence of that in the '90s, kind of, right?
Oh yeah.
And now it's like it's totally irrelevant now. Like all of his stuff about Carter.
Yeah,
Jimmy,
you're saying the popularity of Thompson has fallen off. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think there's some of that, but I think too that drug culture has just evolved and has become it lost the innocence of the '60s, so to speak. I mean, it was never innocent, but there was that naivety that was there, and like that was still sort of clinging on, like the last wisps of it when I was growing up, and there was still that sort of energy, like you said, that resurgence of the '60s sort of counterculture in the '90s. There were still like vapors of that when I was growing up, and that seems all but gone now. You got the whole culture around it has changed, and it's definitely taken on a much more cynical and dark exterior as opposed to just the dark interior it used to have. So I think Thompson, it's like he's still like a niche interest for some people, but definitely not the same mass appeal that it once would have had.
Yeah, I mean, I think that because like I got into him, I think in '06, which was a year after he died, and that was kind of when he had a big resurgence. And I know, a lot of friends of mine and guys I knew were getting into him, and everybody was reading like The Great Shark Hunt and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and even like Better Than Sex and some more, which actually is one of his best books, I think, and some of the more kind of obscure works. And yeah, I mean, it was like things were really ramping up there from like 2005 to
it kind of started around 97, that second trajectory, like with the movie. But actually he was relevant in the past year because of E. Jean Carroll.
Yes,
right, the lawsuit with Trump, because that's his biographer, like of all people.
All right.
She's like, when I followed Hunter around, it was very difficult. It was tough. It's like, I'm sure it was for you. All right, here's my Henry Rollins bit, okay? All right. You want to be tough? TOUGH. Though, like a man, then cry. Cry for your rights. Cry for the rats in the LA street punks. Cry for your guitar string broken like piano wire on a man's throat while you mosh into your perfect suburban life.
That's
That's
perfect.
pretty basically
It's like
Rollins.
mixed metaphors, like
Right.
music, like
Beat slam
suburbia.
poetry.
Yeah, that's what he does. Yeah.
Slam poetry.
One of
Yeah.
the weirdest things, and maybe I think I'm remembering this correctly, is it was a clip that went around on when Henry Rollins was on Joe Rogan Experience. I don't know, like some years ago, and he
He's
was
like, I was the
talking.
first person to have soy sunglasses.
Yeah, he was talking about like when he goes back home to DC. Yeah, apparently, like Ian MacKay from Minor Threat and Fugazi is like his only friend, just because the guy's like super abrasive and weird. But he said that like when he go, if I as best I remember, it's been years since I listened to this, but as best I remember, he said when he goes home to DC, he doesn't actually go and talk to the people he knew, like the friends he had there. He'll just go to their house and just kind of look in their window and he's like, oh, I just like, knowing they're there and like, that they're doing okay. And I was like, okay, that is very
This
weird.
tattooed
that.
like boomer shows up at the window of like Bad Brains,
Yeah.
like in DC.
Yeah. It's just like staring in HR's window and, which HR is a paranoid schizophrenic. So I don't know that may not be a great idea on Rollins' part, but yeah, I was like, that is freaking weird. Just going to people's houses and staring at, even if they're your friends. Like, I'm
He
not going to
doesn't
go to
do
my
any of that
friend's house.
shit, dude. That guy stays in LA, like in Malibu, right? With like talking to Moby or something. Like he
Probably.
I mean, I don't know.
I've
I
been
hope
vegan
he's-
for 10 years. I've been vegan for 12, bro.
Yeah. I like the old Moby music. Moby was the one who first remixed Twin Peaks, the Twin Peaks theme song. Remember that? He didn't even know what it was when he made it. It was pretty cool.
Dude, I still have never seen Twin Peaks on anything other than VHS. I got the VHS box set for the first 2 seasons. That's the only way I've ever watched it, was on this little VHS thing.
As it should
So-
be, probably.
Yes.
I just put the theme song on loop for like 10 hours and
Oh,
listen
it's
to
so
it and
good.
get moody.
So good. So
Yeah.
good.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, Maddie, I'm gonna hop off at some point a little bit before y'all wrap up, because I gotta whip up the thumbnail and stuff for my stream. So I know you asked earlier what it is. It's just gonna be laid back, chill stream. I don't got a bunch planned. I got this radio show that I listened to the other day, all about physiognomy, like an old fashioned radio show. It's all fair use now or whatever, copyright free, because it's so old. But I thought it was really interesting because it talks it's specifically about physiognomy, and so I'm probably just gonna ramble and do a little chill stream. So that's
Is it
the
like
show.
you notice that when the foreigners come into the country, they have different faces?
Dude, no, it's actually it's really cool. I mean, I only listened to it once, but it popped up and I was like, oh my god, they're talking about this thing that we talk about all the time. It was really cool. They specifically separate it from like phrenology and stuff, and they go into it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, all right, what time are you doing that?
Whenever you guys wrap up, I'm probably gonna go live shortly after that. I still gotta do the thumbnail and set it all up, so I'll probably hop off in a couple minutes, and let you guys wrap up, and I'll whip that together so that I'm ready to go.
No, I was laughing because John Connor's this comment he made was
Henry Rollins is just Martha Stewart for your uncle who wears Vans in his Volvo. That's awesome. Also, I'll just extend the invitation. I'm sure you guys are busy, but because it is going to be a chill stream, like feel free to hop on if you want at any time, because I'm just going to be doing more of this. So
cool.
Right
Yeah,
on.
I'll definitely. It's what, almost 10.
Yeah, no answer needed. I'm just saying open invitation.
It's a school night. I'm not supposed to be watching TV.
Yeah, I
Did you
guess
guys
we
see?
can- what's up?
Did you guys see Jay's top 10 bands that define who I am post?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you make a list? Did you guys
I
make a
didn't.
list?
I was close to doing it, but I'm like, I'm good. I'm just reading through the comments and checking out people's lists.
I'll
But yeah,
probably do that.
None of
I
that
need
was
to do one.
surprising. I mean, were you surprised by any of the entries on
I
that?
think it was out of order, but I was surprised Depeche Mode wasn't first. But I guess it was in no order. But I found it hard to do that with that specificity in mind, like in defining sort of who you are. I mean, because like Cisco Thong Song is definitely there for me, but that's just one song because it was important. It was the only, like, I had a mini disc player and it was the only mini disc I had on this long trip with that one song on it. The rest got lost. So I listened to it like 10 million times.
Yeah,
What a glorious song, dude. It's a glorious song. It goes up in octaves. Like that's a true one hit wonder. Cisco Thong Song for the young people out there. Yeah, but no, yeah, but I found it. It's like, there's is it a dearth? There's a
Mhm.
dearth of movies and music right now. I think we're kind of in this weird phase where things are going to shift. Like it's kind of like 2006, 2007 when music like completely changed. It went from like southern rap and sort of holdover from 90s gangster rap to like full on electronic music,
Hmm.
and that's lasted like a long time. I thought
Mhm.
we were going to go into this stomp clap music like as a reaction to all the tech everywhere. It was going to be all acoustic, and I'm thankful we didn't do that. I hate the Lumineers.
Oh
um,
yeah. Oh yeah.
we're going to do a concert with a bedpost,
Right.
right?
Yeah, we're just gonna be playing a bedpost with like a pair of
Yeah,
scissors closed, just tapping.
And
yeah.
I mean, it's
I'm like the
interesting.
world's biggest bluegrass fan. All right, I love old acoustic.
Yeah.
I like that stuff for sure, but it
Well,
definitely is not.
that's a constant. That's never going to, that's always
Right.
going to be there. It's a foundational music. So
Right.
yeah, for
Right.
sure.
Two
Yeah.
things on that.
Speaking.
I
Sorry. Go
can't
on,
tell
Maddie.
you how many times because I love bluegrass. I always have. And then whenever I'd be like, oh, I like bluegrass, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I really like Mumford and Sons and
Yeah.
Lumineers. And
No.
just you do
No,
realize just because it has a banjo,
I like
it's
waxing my
not
mustache.
bluegrass. Yeah, I
Right.
like
Right.
waxing my mustache and buying instruments that I don't know how to play and I'm never gonna learn. I
Right.
just like having a banjo in my room for when girls come over. And
Right.
it's like, dude, are you kidding me?
That's a weird one to have in your room for when the chicks come over too.
Yeah. Chicks
Right.
dig it. Banjo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like why just get bagpipes, you know?
Right.
You remember when
Maddie.
one of the Mumfords like got kicked out of the band during Karunka? You remember
Yes, because
that?
he shared like an Andy No video or something,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
that's
they
what it
they
was.
threw
Yeah.
him out of the band for it,
Like our PR
which was
guy says, you gotta go, dude.
Yeah.
yeah, like
He's
this
like,
like
"Thank
totally
you."
milk toast, just like run of the mill lib
He's like, "I can
journalist.
take these fucking suspenders off now."
Yeah,
Right.
I can shave this beard.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my
But
goodness.
yeah, I will say the other thing, what's interesting, since you mentioned with music and like popular music, that is, it's been a weird thing because like a lot of there's not really good electronic music made anymore. I mean, I'm sure there is some, but it's like, you had, like the big beat of the 90s. We're talking about big beat fan. Y'all know
Yeah.
this. You had like so much
Yeah.
like cool electronic music happening in the 90s. And then you kind of like had the vapor wave and the synth wave coming up in the late
Mhm.
2000s,
Mhm.
or I guess mid 2000s. But what's interesting to see is kind of like instrument music kind of has gone away in terms of popular. But what's cool, and I know a lot of people out there probably not into this, but being into like metal and hardcore and things like that, like death metal, slam, hardcore is having like it's been having ever since like 2020.
It
It's
is.
just been like people have been killing it. There's new bands
Oh
coming
yeah.
out, new records, and so it's kind of, even though that's not really a music that's palatable to most people, and most people are
It's
like, oh, this is
it's
just noise.
attractive to people who are really talented musicians. Like my best friend
Yes.
Mm.
Gus, who I grew up with, who I actually have the matching tattoo with, is the best musician I've ever met. I mean, he spent 6 hours a day every day for years, playing his bass, and that's the kind of music he's into, is all that super like grindcore and heavy
Hmm.
metal like stuff, and that local scene has just exploded. I mean, it's exploded.
Shouts
He's
out
like,
to Hesher. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's just such a popular dude now in the local scene, because I mean he's so talented, and there's so many guys like that out there now that are just, yeah, it's blowing up. So 100%, that's definitely happening.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
absolutely. It's been very, very cool to see that. That kind of, and people are doing something kind of different. There's a lot of 90s influence on a lot of it, especially like the beat down kind of hardcore and that kind of thing, but it's kind of fresh, and people are bringing a different take on it. It's a lot of pretty young people, from late teens to like early 30s, that are doing some really cool things musically.
So
Yeah,
Maddie,
that's
about
sort of M83 My Bloody Valentine type music is coming back in a bit, like
Hmm.
the All Under Heaven, and like you wouldn't believe how popular Deftones are with teenagers right now. It's crazy. They're
Really.
like, play that Deftones. I'm like, what? You know who
all
that
right,
is?
all right.
Like, it's because of TikTok, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, so Maddie, I'm glad you said you like bluegrass, because I was thinking about this yesterday, and I couldn't remember if you were one of, because I was trying to remember. I was like, is Maddie into bluegrass? So I'm glad you said that. Did you see Billy Strings was on with Theo Vaughn the other day?
No, I haven't seen that yet. Was it
Dude,
good?
it's so good, man. I was like, what? And I've never been like super into Billy Strings, you know, because I like the 30s and 40s. But he's
Hmm.
definitely that guy that loves that stuff. And so, I heard about him when I was like into jam bands and stuff. His name would always be on the posters with all the other jam bands and stuff. But so yeah, he did an interview with Theo Von, and it started off so funny. Like, um, I don't want to spoil the interview. It's actually really good, but Billy Strings reminds me of like so many people that I grew up with.
Hmm.
It's such a weird thing where you're like, this could be like one of the dudes in our friend group, like the same kind of stories, the same kind of environment he grew up in, and all the crazy shit that he says. I'm like, it's just like a very nostalgic thing hearing these stories. But it was a crazy interview, and it was really funny. Theo Von is so freaking funny, dude, in like
He
in an
rules.
intentional way and an unintentional way. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just, dude, he knows like nothing about music, you know. And so he's sitting there talking. He's sitting there talking with him at one point, and he's like, "What's that called when somebody plays another song that they didn't write?" Like he couldn't even think of the word cover song, you know. And Billy String is just like this like really talented musician. He's just like, yeah, a cover song. You know? It's just so fucking funny, dude. But a great interview, and
Thea
yeah,
Vaughn's like rocking it, dude. He's like
oh,
Oh yeah.
killing it.
exploded. He's huge. He had Tucker on there.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was a good interview. I told
That
you
was a really
I
good
hung out
one.
with Theo Vaughn, didn't I?
No.
I hung out with him for like a really memorable night in Charleston in like 2000. He's friends with my best friend
Nice.
from Charleston. And I remember he'd been on Road Rules, but he was like a bouncer at a bar, but he was
Yeah,
like the same. Very, very cool
nice,
dude. Yeah.
nice.
He's exploding.
Yeah,
Um
I like Billy Strings because when he kind of came on, like first the old videos, he's got like the Wranglers and plaid shirts, and it was like he had I think he used to have like slicked back hair or something and
yeah.
t-shirts, and now it's like tie-dye sweatpants and a mullet, and I was like,
Well,
I can appreciate this
he goes into
kind
his
of
whole
artistic
history,
journey.
and he talks about how he was like, like at one point they're talking about smoking crack and all these crazy drug stories, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I smoke crack," and he's just like, "What, bro?"
Wait, he
Billy
does or
Strings?
did?
No, he did. And then they go into
Oh.
like an hour-long story about meth and like all this stuff, and you're like, what? Like he grew up in a house of like, his parents were drug addicts, and so he was always
Mm,
around that. He grew up in a town of like 600 people, and at the time it was
where's
like
he from?
400 people. Someplace in Michigan, like a very small
Oh,
rural town in
okay.
Michigan, and just ravaged by drugs. But the first half of the interview is them like reminiscing drug stories and stuff, and
Mm.
like they realize halfway through, like, oh, this is gonna come off like we're promoting drugs. So then they had to go into all the bad stuff about it, and it ends in a really like positive way. And that's like one of those interviews where you listen to it, and of course he's gonna say, psychedelics are great, and I think they're good, and all that stuff.
Mm.
You get all that stuff because he's like a naive, kid, but. I don't know. There was just something about it that I definitely really dug. It was a good interview.
There a lot of these guys that's a big they're the bluegrass thing and country are being did you see Beyonce has a country song out now?
No.
Just put it out. And then of course Post Malone, like dude, I like when I see Post Malone doing his recordings of him doing his dance in his
Hmm.
concert, like I get angry
Yeah, they talk about Post
watching
Malone a
it.
lot in that interview. They talk about how
Uh
great of a dude he is, how much they love him. They're like, this guy's a big teddy bear. He's so nice, such a kind guy. And like
he
Billy
might be, but
Strings,
like
Billy Strings
I
did
don't
a show
know.
with Post Malone. They show a clip from
Mm.
that and all that stuff. Yeah, yeah,
And I hope he is, but like it's coming off like he got a whiff of the Jim Carrey, whatever Jim Carrey did. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's kind of losing it. And then that dude Jelly Roll, you see Jelly Roll like
He's
like at
huge.
Congress,
Yeah, he's on
like
like WWE now and all that stuff. He's
he
always
was
doing
at
like
right.
commentators stuff for that.
Congress. What was he doing in
Yeah, he did like
Congress?
a congressional testimony about opioids or something.
Yeah.
But
What's
it was
funny is I remember like 10 plus years ago, back when I went through a phase where I was super into rap and like really into mixtapes. And I remember him from back then. He was this just like trashy, like just kind of degenerate, who,
Yeah.
was rapping with people like Yellow Wolf and Lil White and people like that. And now he's this like country megastar. And I was like, well, he's not country. He's just like a redneck that likes rap. And like he seems like a good
Right.
dude. I'm not bashing the guy or anything, but
Right.
it was like, yeah, I don't. This guy, what he's doing is not. I'm a bit of a pure. Not a bit. I'm actually a massive purist when it comes to country. I have some controversial opinions.
Yeah. For me, country is Hank Williams. and Merle Haggard, and like that's pretty much it. Like that's the country I like, and
I
I know
think it'd
that's
be
fun.
fun to go see Garth Brooks at his Vegas show. He does a Vegas show. I think it'd be crazy. I think it'd be fun.
That'd be
Bulls and
entertaining.
blood, it's dust and mud, it's the roar of the sun. Like the big stadium country. That was the start of the new country.
Oh, it would be a fun show. It'd be a fun show.
It would be fun.
I think when we're talking about celebrities, kind of like the whole Post Malone thing and Jelly Roll thing, like, I don't know. I think people judge people a little too harshly because at the end of the day, like most of these people are living in a bubble, and they're just flawed people. You know what I mean? And they actually talk about on the interview with Theo Von. They're talking about how like a lot of the new music that gets so much hate, like auto tune stuff and the super fake pop kind of stuff like Post Malone. They're like, this is
I like all that music.
Yeah, they're like, this is an artistic choice, and like he's talking about how he knows all these people and that they're all like really good musicians, but they like choose to do like X, Y, or Z. That's the style that they want to play or whatever. But what made me, because I can't stand Post Malone's music, and I always was like, oh fuck that guy. The thing that made me go, okay, I'm not gonna be so angry is when I saw him do that thing with what's that guy's the gun dude on YouTube and Instagram, fucking oh my god, what's the name of that rifle? He's got the something finger, Garand Thumb. That Grand Thumb guy. He was out there in all the military fatigue shooting guns with him. I was like, okay, this guy's like more of like a redneck type hillbilly dude.
Yeah, he's got that compound in Utah that he lives at.
Well, one thing it's interesting you mentioned, and I think it's a good point about even with like the auto tune and all like the hip hop stuff, is some of those people are actually like a lot of those producers, especially like Sleepy Brown, the guys from Organized Noise, like those guys are smart and they're very musical. They use like live instruments, and even if you look at somebody like T-Pain, who was just kind of the guy that would sing auto-tuned hooks on other people's songs. If you go watch the NPR Tiny Desk concert that he did, it's actually because a guy I used to be friends with was telling me about that. He's like, dude, you got to listen to it. And I was like, dude, it's T-Pain. He was like, no, he's like, just listen to it. I was like, okay, fine.
I like T-Pain.
He's got the voice of an angel. That's what they literally talk about that. They literally talk about how Usher came up to T-Pain and said, like, you ruined rap music. And he said he got into like a 4-year-long depression over it. And he's like, but I actually listened to that guy. He's a really good singer. He just chooses to use all that auto-tune shit. Yeah.
He's a really talented guy.
Well, the auto-tune is a choice, like you said. And these guys are making pop, to make a pop banger is like a different thing than making a great album for a band. It's just different. It's like art versus pop art, which is this like unique thing that there's no formula for that has to, it has to make it. I mean, Taylor Swift's the best example of that right now. Right. But it's like banger after banger, and you can say they're formulaic, and they are in a sense, but the fact is that like when something is, and I know this stuff is promoted, but like when it's like an earworm, it's very difficult to do that. So yeah, you have to be something to have the sort of foresight and like the concept in mind. I mean, like I love Chris Brown. I love listening to Chris Brown music. It's all kind of, it fits into a formula, but it's like, it's enjoyable to listen to, and that's fine with me. So. Chris Brown is my example.
Yeah, now people are Toledo and Melly are doing putting T-Pain lyric. What was that song?
I'm T-Pain, you know me.
That song? And shout out to Mella. Thank you, Mella. Much appreciate. We appreciate it. Mella's in the chat for pretty much every stream we do on this channel. Her and Jason. So,
dude, what was up with Jermaine Dupri wearing shorts at the Super Bowl? Did you see that? His little shorts. He was wearing like a tuxedo with shorts. And then Nick Mullen was talking about how, like, what they did to Usher. Like, Cat Williams was talking about like putting the guys in dresses. Well, they made Usher do this, but it was with roller skates. So,
oh yeah. What y'all think about that? I haven't listened to any. I did watch the Super Bowl halftime show. I haven't listened to any of the analyses that people have done of it. But what did y'all think about that weird like humiliation ritual with Alicia Keys? Did y'all
see any of it, dude? I didn't see any of the Super Bowl. Thank God. I was totally checked out for that one. So
I wouldn't put it as I know what you mean. I wouldn't put it as a humiliation ritual because she's already had her fame. It was like you talking about when he hugged her from behind?
Well, he was
thing?
kind of like doing this whole thing, and she was basically just like brushing it. I don't know, maybe humiliation, which was a bit of a strong term for it,
Well,
but
whatever it
a
was,
little
I thought it
weird.
was like, okay, these two know each other and they're singing and whatever, you know. I thought it was worse that she was wearing a 322-foot red cape in a Scarlet Woman costume, playing a sex toy looking piano and singing off key. I thought that was way worse. I like, why is she here? Bring Tony Braxton up in this bitch, right? Like, this lady's in New York. Who cares?
Yeah, that was a little. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Alicia Keys,
But I
is
like
fine
Usher,
with it.
though. Yeah.
It was a little weird because it's like Alicia
You
Keys.
got
I mean,
it, you
hasn't
got
really.
it bad. When the phone is this whole thing's up. Isn't that how it goes? Dude, that guy's been
Something
making
like
songs
that.
since 1997.
Oh yeah.
And also, he sweats more than anybody in the world, dude. That guy's
Yeah, he had to go like drink a whole gallon of Gatorade after the performance. I was like, is it that hot there? Like everybody else looked fine, but yeah, it was that was pretty interesting. But I don't know. It seemed like a fairly benign as far as the halftime shows go. Though it wasn't like a weekend type of thing where he's
just like a blatant mirror ritual.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw one clip of somebody like descending from was that Lady Gaga or some shit, like coming down from the ceiling, all these pentagrams all over the place. Like, par for the course for Super Bowl. Hey man, I'm gonna dip off now so I can set up the stream. But I will see you guys in a few minutes, and I'll see y'all whenever I'll see y'all. I'll talk to you guys probably tonight.
Peace, man.
Yes,
peace,
yeah.
brother.
Thanks so much for coming on. Great having you. Yeah, we're gonna wrap up here in a minute, and we'll try to get you back on and not have quite such a long gap in between.
True Detective season
appearances.
2. Let's do it. I want to do that so bad, dude.
Yeah,
Sounds
let's do it. We're in.
Let's go.
Yeah, thank you guys for sharing the stream with me. I appreciate y'all.
Absolutely.
Peace,
have a good night.
All right, peace, y'all.
Did you know that Satan produces the halftime show at the Super Bowl?
I think I heard that somewhere.
That's what Alex said.
Awesome. I mean, it's probably literally that's the case.
Yeah.
You got anything else you want to hit before we?
Not really. I mean, there's a million different things to talk about. I know that I'm going on a promotion here. I'm going on TNT Radio tomorrow at 4:40 for the final segment, 4:40 Eastern time with Escher, and he wants to talk more about what we sort of dove into last week. But we're gonna have a big deep dive on this phenomenon of body snatching, which is like out of control in the United States right now, apparently. So we're going to talk about body brokers and grave robbing.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me about that the other day. That was we'll get into that tonight. I feel like we were.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it. I mean, and it's not. I don't really want to be the expert on this thing, but apparently it's like that's a huge thing. People can get their macabre kicks from listening to us tomorrow. Talk about that because they discovered that warehouse of death where the people had the funeral home, but they hadn't actually buried any of the bodies. There were like 189 bodies in there.
Dude, that is it's TNTRadio.live, right?
Yeah, and the sheriff came out and made a statement. He was like, "If you think you've seen hell, you haven't seen it. There's carcasses and animals and bugs and everything's in there. We need to just drop a hellfire missile on it." I mean, it was horror.
What's crazy is that couple. I saw this. I think it came up on YouTube or something a while back. It was just like one of these random things. It was like, I think it was on Shark Tank. It was like these people pitched their idea on Shark Tank of basically where it was like, oh, you decompose naturally or whatever. Like you go back into the earth. And I don't think they got a deal. I think I watched like 2 minutes of it. And I was like, okay, whatever. But yeah. And so they were on there, and then that was that kind of tripped me. Like that was a freaking weird situation. And I think, I don't know if it was just greed or because apparently they just took the money and like went on trip. But those people, those were some of those people that when I saw them on that Shark Tank segment, I was like, there's something weird with these people. Like what we were talking about earlier, these people are not normal.
Yeah, that's like when Rodney Akala or whatever, that guy went on the dating game in the 70s. Or that guy, the serial
Oh
killer.
yeah, Richard Ramirez, like the pretty boy
Yeah.
Richard Ramirez looking
Yeah.
looking guy.
And it's crazy because like he looks even worse than Ramirez on this
Yeah.
thing. And like when they questioned him, they were like, "What do you like to do?" And he was like, "I'd like to take you out on a date, and maybe we're eating food that looks like humans. We can dismember it together." And they were like, "Okay." And it turned out he was the guy. Sick.
Well,
mean,
didn't
at
he
least-
get the date? Didn't he get to the end? Like he was the one
Yeah.
that won.
Yeah, he got the date. He won the date.
Well, okay, Sabrina says the woman didn't go on the date with him, so yeah, she probably saved.
He
herself.
won, but she didn't go on the date. Yeah, she was like, "There's something in this guy's eyes. Like I look in his eyes and it's reflecting a morgue for some reason. So that's probably not a good sign." Right.
Yeah,
It was like, "Have you ever heard of body brokers?"
Actually, I saw this random post the other day of this guy. Apparently, there was a video. It was like one of these underground videos that got passed around of this guy who, just showing his face and everything, wasn't wearing a mask or anything, was talking about grave robbing, and it's like this famous underground video of this guy that's just like, oh yeah, him and his friends would apparently. So he claimed would like go dig up graves. It was pretty weird.
Yeah, that's weird. That happened in one of the books what was the book that I covered where he was doing that? It wasn't obvious like Frankenstein. It was I'm not gonna remember what it was, but yeah, that's weird. There's that scene in Gangs of New York, right, where he gets Leo to like, make some money or whatever. So he goes and robs the bodies off of the ship, and then he's like, and then it makes the newspaper, and he's like, "What's this word, ghoul?" Ghoul, and he's like, "Yeah, it means," and he's like, "I know what it means, and a periodical of note." He says he learns the word ghoul. But yeah, that's nasty. But
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll be talking about that. That'll be wonderful. And also, it's today Thursday, so tomorrow night. I'll be doing a big Michael Mann film stream on Miami Vice, Collateral, Last of the Mohicans, and Thief. So that should be good. Hopefully people have seen those movies. I mean, I'm sure somebody's seen at least one. It's like we've come upon a time where people haven't seen the old things anymore. Last of the Mohicans, probably, have you seen that one? You seen Last of the Mohicans?
No, I actually have not seen that one.
It's Daniel Day-Lewis. It's like fucking so awesome, dude. All of his movies are great, but that movie especially, French and Indian War, very, very well done. Collateral, like you got to see Collateral, dude. Tom Cruise is so good in this movie. The movie doesn't really make sense, but it doesn't matter because his role in the movie, he plays Vincent the hitman, and like he looks. There's a scene where they're in the cab and they stop because there's a coyote in the middle of the road, like in LA at night, and like this Audio Slave song is playing, and that's like the exterior for Tom Cruise, but he's more like a wolf. Like you look at him and he looks like a wolf. And there's a scene where they describe who these guys are that are they're surveilling, and they're like, these guys are plucked. They're like ex special forces, KGB, Spetsnaz, and you don't want to run across one of these guys. And I find that interesting because that's one of those things that people, especially fellas, will like to sort of, we like to think about those things and read books about them and watch movies about hitmen and stuff like that. But sometimes you'll hear a person, they'll be like, I knew a guy like that. And I always find that doubtful. You don't know a guy like this because part of this is that this is a world that we don't come across. And if we do, we were not around. These people the people that are really like this are just, everything about him in this movie is lethal, which is crazy because it's Tom Cruise and he's playing this villain, but he's like likable, and you want Jamie Foxx to like please him so he can survive. And you're like, why is he taking him on this trip around the city? And then you sort of figure it out. But it's this guy is like totally cold, and it's not a psycho kind of cold. It's like a militaristic training kind of cold, or the two mixed. I've got a good book on that from a guy who was in the French Foreign Legion, and then he became a contractor in Iraq, like guarding convoys and stuff, and he's kind of the same type of guy. But these guys, we don't know these guys. We don't, these are like the true like lone singular guys being hired out by a cartel to do this type of thing. And so it's interesting to watch a movie like this and see it done sort of in a different way, which seems like it would be a very difficult thing to do in movies. It's a common portrayal, but he does it very well. Collateral, Michael Mann, 2006, I think.
Yeah, it sounds like Alejandro Benicio del Toro's character in Sicario.
Yeah, it is. Yes,
similar kind of
same world.
Yeah.
Of course, his character in that is different because he's working within an obvious organization, even though they're hiding that it's an organization. And that's different. He ends up at the end of that first one being this sort of character, even though he's run by this by CIA. But Tom Cruise's character is like an outlier. Who's, it's like if you're a ex Green Beret or Foreign Legionnaire or an ex SEAL or whatever, and you have a particular set of skills, it's like you have a certain number of avenues, I'm sure, that you can go down. They can all be lucrative. And one of them, of course, is, doing the things for the bad guys. I mean, I think it's quite common. Another movie that deals with this is The Counselor with Michael Fassbender. Cormac McCarthy wrote that movie. It's a Ridley Scott movie. Kind of underseen. It's got Cameron Diaz, Javier Bardem. Very good. About a lawyer for the cartel who crosses them. Brad Pitt's in it. That's a good one. Should do that.
I haven't seen that one.
Sabrina says, has Bay's done Duel yet? Are you talking about Harvey Keitel? Is that Carradine also? That's Ridley Scott. Are you talking about that? No, that's the Duelist.
Oh, yeah.
What's Duel? Which one? Oh, you're talking about Ridley Scott Duel with no, that's not the name of that one. The one with Adam Driver. What's that one called? That's The Last Duel with Matt Damon, Adam
Dennis
Driver.
Weaver.
I don't know Dennis. Sabrina, I don't know Dennis Weaver. Who Dennis Weaver? I know movies. What's Duel? Let me look it up.
Yeah, let's see what this is. Okay, so that's one. It started Dennis.
Surely you haven't found a movie.
Oh, it's a Spielberg film.
Oh, you talking about Dungeons and Dragons? Duel, Dennis Weaver, Spielberg. The fuck?
It was a television film from the
1971, well before Jaws 1975. No, I haven't done this movie.
This actually sounds pretty interesting.
A business commuter is pursued and terrorized by the malevolent driver of a massive tractor trailer. I've heard of this movie. Yeah, I've heard of this one. That and that's not the one that was filmed in Australia, is it? Because there's another one like that, and then there's Maximum Overdrive, right? And then I just watched Breakdown, which is Kurt Russell and what the fuck? Emmett Walsh. What's the guy Walsh? The guy in A Few Good Men. JT Walsh. It was his final movie. That's a good one. The Seatown Boys did a good one on that one.
I was just thinking.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just thinking about. This reminds me of what we were talking about the other day on the Night Country stream, talking about just sort of like the difference in the violence from season 1 of True Detective, like from this the difference in the violence of, between like Woody Harrelson's character and McConaughey's character, and I think that's something that sort of you don't see a lot of in film or television, because a lot of the violence, it's like, oh, it's war, or it's like just action or whatever, but to see people, and I haven't seen Collateral, but it sounds like a similar kind of character, like with with McConaughey's character and with Benicio del Toro's character in Sicario, is that it's a very cold kind of clinical, that these people aren't like psychos, like they're not just out there taking out they're not like a Michael Myers or like a Jason Voorhees or whatever. They're like people who use this in a very direct kind of directed sort of way. And it's that, okay, there's something I need to get done. There's something I need information, whatever it is. And the quickest and easiest way is to cause the maximum amount of damage that will get me what I want without going too far. And it's always like a means to an end, that it doesn't even seem like they enjoy it. They don't seem to get any kind of pleasure out of it. And they don't do it for the fun of it. It's a very cold, that,
Professional.
I don't know. I just think that's kind of fascinating to see how people play that in, because it's so different from what we normally see in terms of violence in film and in movies.
That's a great point. That's a really astute point. And you're right. The differentiation can get lost in the movies. You see this. You remember during the riots when it was in Seattle and there was a street that was burning, there was a bank that was burning, and there was a cop car on fire, and a couple of guys, like young guys, reached into the cop car and they pulled out like 3 ARs from the car, and then a dude came out of nowhere and snatched it from him, and he had like a bunch of them on him, and then he disarmed him real quick. Do you remember that?
Vaguely,
it was a clip for about a day, and in the context of everything that was happening, but it was Jethro will remember that one. I wish I could find that clip, dude. It was crazy. It was on the television, like on the coverage, and everything was on fire. And this dude ran out of nowhere and like grabbed the guns and disarmed them very quickly. And that to me was indicative of, like, for instance, remember when Delta Force was in Seattle and all this stuff. But it's professionalism, right? These guys often, like, Bond always talks about that, about professionalism.
Right.
And it's a dispassionate, objective, skill set, like you said, that they use. I mean, I guess that's the whole thing with the military, that, professional warriors of any, especially of a upper echelon. Not only is it a sort of it's a tradition of men, right? That they carry on regardless of the country or wherever. You see this like with Gurkhas and stuff, that this is an extremely disciplined thing. And that when reading about the SEALs in that Phoenix program book and about Vietnam, they often will say in those books that, that their purpose is to suppress whatever the situation is with maximum firepower and then get in and get out, right? Like the politicians like to say, surgical strike. And that's a lot different than the emotion that we see loaded into these things, especially these stories like, 13 Strong and, the Mark Wahlberg movie. And like, we see these guys, patriotic, and in reality, that might be the case, but in reality, going into it, they're doing a job, right? And it's just that their job requires something that, is awful. But yeah, that's a good point, especially when they're in civilian clothes, like operating in public. And that's the cool thing about Collateral, is that there's a scene in a club near the end of the movie where Tom Cruise has to like take out a final target, and he makes his way in, and he's being tracked by the cartel, and he has to take out this Chinese, and it was part of a Chinese gang that's part of this thing, and the cops are there and the feds are watching, and yet he's just there in public doing all this stuff. But like he's the gray man, right? You still don't, if you're there with all of the chaos going on, people still don't even see him. And I find that there was a guy who was in there was a Russian example of that, who was a former Spetsnaz, and then he was working for one of Putin's groups, and then he got involved in organized crime in Russia, and he was like extremely lethal. Have you heard of this guy? There's no way I think his name's Alexander or something.
I think I vaguely remember this story. I don't remember the guy's name though. Yeah,
he was one of these guys who the surveillance has like footage of him, and he goes in, like, he's got like a swagged out tracksuit on, and he's like heavily armed, right? And he just like takes bullets and just just keeps going, right? Or like in Ronin, I guess. Ronin is a good example of that. Anyway, the fellows always like that kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
I've always loved books and movies like that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
No, I think that point about like the daytime, because generally so much of violence in movies takes place at night. But if you think about that big shootout they have on the bridge in Sicario, it's like broad daylight. And
Yeah.
they have I can't think of that actor. He's a great actor. He was in Shot Caller and Burn Notice, like Jeffrey Donovan.
Yeah.
Dude, that guy's so good. And
he is fucking so good in that movie.
Oh, and they're just like ready to go. And it's the same thing like in first season True Detective, where it's like broad daylight. They're in a public gas station, and Matthew McConaughey just walks in like, I think we got off on the wrong foot, caves some guy's head in with a toolbox. And it's just like that. And that's another thing, is that total disregard for like who might be around, and obviously, they're not stupid about it. I think, he's probably making sure that, this is as opportune of a time as you're going to get. But yeah, that sort of with that kind of precision and that,
Dude,
again,
that
it's
scene
all
in
about
Sicario.
permission. It's not about it's not about anything else. It's just I have to do this to achieve an end. So if that means getting in a shootout on a crowded bridge,
They're like 11 o'clock. He's like 11 o'clock, 2 cars over. He's like looks over there and he like
yeah.
When they all get out of the car at once, dude, that scene rocks so hard. And then when they get there and it's that guy who's like, it's crazy, isn't it? That's a real Phoenix program thing. He's like, you see you see the hanging bodies from the bridge, and people want to think that this is for a reason. This is sending a message, but in reality, it isn't. And what you get from that is that people like that guy taught them to do that.
Yeah.
Right. Which is that's like what's his name? Is it Stockwell? What's the guy's name? John Stockwell, when he talks about El Salvador and Nicaragua and all that. And then Phoenix, like that's sort of par for the course, I guess, maximum, that's hearts and minds, right? That's what hearts and minds really is.
Which, folks, if
that
you want to
movie's
hear more
great,
about
dude.
this, you can check out the stream. I think it's something about the what did I title it? Something about the narco media industrial complex. I put more work into that stream than anything else. I got no views. So, folks, if you haven't watched that one,
go back and watch that, people. Yeah.
But dude, we should do a Sicario analysis sometime.
We should. We'll do that.
Yeah, we'll get on that.
The second one also is not. It's a totally different sort of subject, but it's not bad. And actually, the second one deals with what's happening now in the country. Right. With
I haven't seen the second one yet.
Day of the Soldado, it's called.
And I know the Benicio del Toro character was so fascinating and
so good.
It's interesting how, because that dude's an amazing actor, but one of the things, I think one of the best the scenes is at the end where, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Sicario, where at the end where he goes and there's almost kind of because the guy doesn't really seem to have much concern for anybody, but there is that concern where it's a very cold kind of way, but he's like, where he tells Emily Blunt character, he's like, this is a land of wolves now, and like, you're not a wolf, like go somewhere else, go be a sheriff in Kansas or whatever. Like he's warning her, he's saying, because like he's built for that.
Sign this paper,
but he's sort of been molded for that, and he knows like he can, because he has that sort of thing where he can tell if someone is cut out for that kind of.
I love how they dupe her the whole movie. The whole movie's a dupe.
Yeah.
Right. You're sitting in a room with Delta Force and Josh Brolin, and like you're going right into Juarez or whatever, and then she thinks it's it's very well done. Very well done movie. Yeah. Denis Villeneuve. Yeah.
Yes. So we can do both of those. And then we got to do Sunday afternoon. Right, for True Detective wrap up.
Yeah, we'll finish up True Detective 4.
We can do that over here or on your channel.
Let's do it here. Yeah, let's do it here on your channel.
Cool. Yeah, so folks, be on the lookout for that. We got that one coming, and then Sunday afternoon, evening. Be on the lookout for that one. Huge thank you to Jerry. Big thank you to BLA for hanging out. This was a lot of fun. Appreciate everybody being here. We had a big crowd and maintained good numbers through the whole stream. So really got a bunch of new subscribers today. So big thank you to everybody. Yeah, I think I jumped from like 211 to like 220 something.
Sweet.
227 or something.
Nice.
So yeah, that's huge. And hey, if you enjoyed the stream, click the like button, leave a comment, all of that. And I don't know, you got anything else you want to leave us with before we get out of
Yeah,
here?
please. If you saw the links in the chat, please support Maddie here. Please support me. Please go to my channel, support me for my streams. I'm doing again tomorrow night. I'm doing Michael Mann. I just did Shakespeare. I knew the Shakespeare would be a specific and limited high IQ crowd. But if you want to go back and watch my Shakespeare deep analysis into the Twilight of Tragedy, go back and watch that. It's revelatory for politics now. I'm going to do all the Shakespeare plays. Coming up, I've got a shitload of stuff, bunch of stuff. I'm reading a book right now on the Duke of Windsor being the governor of the Bahamas. When this guy, Sir Harry Oakes, was murdered in the Bahamas right after World War II, and somehow Duke of Windsor was implicated in it. And a bunch of stuff. So come and check me out tomorrow night over there on my channel, Baseline Analyzer, for the movie stream. Please, everybody, be there because it's going to be fun. And watch the movie so you don't have to, or so you will. Please support Maddie here. And thanks for having me, man. And I'm so glad that Jerry showed up. And everybody, go over to Exposing Powerful Lies right after this and watch Jerry.
Yes, he's going to be going live here in just a minute. And
he's doing it live.
Yes, he's doing it live. Go to tntradio.live, the website tomorrow. You can catch BLA on. Is that Joseph Arthur show or Hesher's show?
This is Hesher's State of the Nation.
Yeah, State of the Nation. Okay, yeah. That's a good show. Patrick Henningsen's over there. Horove, I can't pronounce that guy's last name. He's a really smart guy. There's tons of great shows over there. So, everybody go check that. 4:40 Eastern, right?
4:40 Eastern time tomorrow, Friday afternoon, final segment. Hesher and I are talking about body snatchers, body brokers, and ghouls.
Sick. And go check out the Shakespeare stream. That was a good one. Really enjoyed that one a lot.
Thank you.
Stay till the end to hear BLA get fired up about Christopher Marlowe. So that was good. So all right, thanks everybody, and we'll catch you all on Sunday.
Peace.